Chapter 1037. The trial of illusion was held in the forbidden area of the Great Brightness Temple, the Fire Spirit Tower. There were a total of 108 grasslands in the Great Humble Tribe. In the depths of each grassland, there was a seal of 2 realms that was used to suppress the Fire Spirit race. The seal of 2 realms was used to suppress the Fire Spirit race. It was a place where even immortal emperors would die if they accidentally entered it. Ning Fan was once captured by the Triflame Devil's son Mengzhen to the Seal of 2 Realms. Initially, Mengzhen wanted to throw Ning Fan into the Seal of 2 Realms and burn him to death. In the end, he fell into the Seal of 2 Realms and died. The terror of the Seal of 2 Realms was deeply engraved in Ning Fan's mind at that time, causing him to completely give up on exploring this secret place. Of course, Ning Fan was more afraid of the saint's ominous intent in the deepest part of the Seal of 2 Realms. The murderous intent of a saint had been passed down since the start of time. It could kill immortal emperors as if they were ants. Because of this, the murderous intent in the depths of the 2 Worlds Seal would kill anyone who dared to trespass. This was the reason why the Fire Spirit Tribe was unable to escape from underground and come to the surface for generations. Eternal suppression. There was also a seal of 2 realms under the grassland of the Middle State. It was located under Lioli City. However, the situation was different from the other grasslands. For some unknown reason, the flame in the seal of 2 realms in the grassland of the Middle State was extinguished when it was first discovered. There was no ominous intent of the saint in the deepest part of the seal of 2 realms. As for the passage to the Fire Spirit World, it was destroyed by someone using a great divine ability. What was even more strange was that there was a strange stone tower in the deepest part of the Seal of 2 Realms. This tower was called the Fire Spirit Tower by the experts of the Middle State. The terrain in the tower was intricate and complicated. For some unknown reason, the tower was filled with extremely terrifying illusory power. The scenery in the tower was both real and fake. Those who did not have a high attainment in illusory techniques would most likely die inside. Because this tower was extremely dangerous, it was sealed by many experts of the Great Brightness Temple when it was first discovered. In the end, it became a forbidden area of the Great Brightness Temple. However, even though the Fire Spirit Tower was filled with dangers, it was a treasure land for fire cultivators. There were 6 floors in the tower. The fire elemental energy of the first floor was equivalent to 2 times that of the outside world. The second floor was 4 times that of the second floor, the third floor was 8 times that of the outside world, and so on. The fire elemental energy of the 6th floor was 64 times that of the outside world. If you were to cultivate fire elemental cultivation techniques and divine abilities in the Fire Soul Tower, his speed would naturally be extremely fast. In this way, some of the strong people from the Central State who were confident in their strength would often request the Great Light Temple to enter the Fire Spirit Tower to cultivate in seclusion. Before the second round of seizing the mausoleum began, there were still many strong cultivators in seclusion within the Fire Spirit Pagoda. However, because the second round of seizing the mausoleum, the trial of illusion, required the use of this forbidden land, the strong cultivators in seclusion within the pagoda had already been cleared out. Only after the second round of seizing the mausoleum had ended would they be able to return here to seclude themselves. The rules of the fantasy trial required the 3 tribes to form a team and participate together. At this stage, every tribe would be given a special map of the Fire Soul Tower. The sceneries marked on the map were all gray, but if the participants held the map and walked around the Fire Soul Tower, the places they passed by would be lit up and displayed on the map. The final result of the illusory test was related to the number of lit maps. Ning Fan's eyes swept across the map in his hand. This was the map that the monks of the Great Light Temple had just given him. It was a specially made magical item. With a thought from Ning Fan, the words and pictures on the leather scroll immediately changed. At first, the map of the first floor of the Fire Soul Tower was all gray. With a thought, the leather scroll turned into the map of the second floor, the third floor, and the 6th floor. Of course, all of them were gray and had not been lit up yet. The illusory test requires 3 tribes to form a team and explore the Fire Soul Tower together to light up the map. Every time the participants took a step forward in the Fire Soul Tower, the corresponding gray part on the map would light up a little and emit white light, indicating that the participant had been to that place. Finally, the final result of the illusory test will be determined according to the size of the lit map. If it was in the first floor of the Fire Soul Tower, for every 1 li of the map that was lit up, you will get 2 points. If it was in the second floor, 1 li of the map will get 4 points, the third floor will get 8 points and so on. This is because the higher the floor of the Fire Soul Tower, the higher the risk and the higher the score will naturally be. When the tribes form a team, the map will be shared to a certain extent. The tribes in the team can work together and move forward together. They can also separate and light up the map separately. If the map that was lit up by the first tribe is not lit up by the second tribe, they can choose to share it and get half of the points of the lit area. If you snatch the map of another tribe, you can completely obtain the lit area of the other tribe. In other words, the illusory test encourages snatching between tribes. In this test, killing is not a crime. If you can't form a team within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, you won't be able to participate in the illusory test and will be considered to have withdrawn from the trial. Ning Fan kept the map and scanned the surroundings with his eyes. The formation of teams had just begun, but some tribes had already formed their own teams. Obviously, they had discussed it beforehand. Some tribes also formed their teams at the last minute and were busy looking for teammates. Because of the convenience of sharing the map, many tribes first considered the strength of their teammates and whether they could be of help to their own tribe. Ning Fan's result in the forceful test indirectly reflected his strength. Even though he was the only representative of the Towerwood tribe, he was still regarded as a strong ally by most of the tribes. Unfortunately, Ning Fan had offended Great Emperor Lu Tuo. Considering this point, there were only a few tribes who really requested to form a team with Ning Fan. Those who requested to form a team with him were basically the helpers invited by the 100 Flowers Emperor. Among these helpers, the strongest one was undoubtedly the Sea Shaman tribe. I'm Wu Yan, the Witch of the Sea Shaman tribe. Just like Brother Ning, I'm working for Lord 100 Flowers. I wonder if Ning Fan is willing to form a team with me. Wu Yan said smilingly and approached Ning Fan. Ning Fan glanced at her indifferently and nodded, agreeing to her request. Since Wu Yan dared to claim that she was working for the 100 Flowers Emperor in public, it was impossible for her to be false. He did not have to worry about her having ulterior motives if he forms a team with her. After all, their goal was the same, which was to win the South Sea Spring water for the 100 Flowers Emperor. Ning Fan's indifference surprised Wu Yan. This external cultivator with the surname Ning seemed to be unmoved by her beauty. One should know that the beauty of the Witch of the Sea Shaman tribe was quite famous in the entire Great Humble tribe. Even those immortal King Realm old monsters would linger for a while when they look at her. However, Ning Fan turned a blind eye to it. He's really a man with a heart of stone. Hee. It's my honor to be able to form a team with Brother Ning. However, I have to make this clear. If the Sha Bai Lu building comes to us during the illusory test, I won't help you. I believe that with Brother Ning's strength, you should be able to handle this matter on your own. It doesn't matter. You and I will form a team. We just need to share the lit area. As for the other matters, we won't help each other. Ning Fan said disapprovingly. He could see through Wu Yan very clearly. She had a strong desire for fame. If his results in the forceful test were not good, she would certainly not take a fancy to him and ask him to form a team. Even if she asked him to form a team now, she would certainly not be willing to get involved in the dispute between him and the Sha Bai Lu building. To put it bluntly, if there are benefits, she would be willing to share them with Ning Fan. If there are difficulties, she would definitely run away faster than anyone else. Seeing that Ning Fan agreed without hesitation, Wu Yan was naturally very satisfied. Both of them stretched out their thumbs and pressed on the red mud on each other's map. With that, their maps were connected by a contract and could be shared. The illusory test requires 3 tribes to go together. We still lack a helper. I wonder if Brother Ning has any suggestions for the remaining helper. Wu Yan originally planned to form a team with Ning Fan and then find an immortal Venerable Realm tribe to form a team with. Of course, she would not consider the Sha Bai Lu. She wanted to invite one of Hong Zong and Shi Dang. Unexpectedly, Hong Zong actually teamed up with Sha Bai Lu. As for Shi Dang, he formed a team with 2 Broken Thought tribes and rejected Wu Yan's invitation with extreme arrogance. In that case, Wu Yan could only choose one of the many Broken Thought tribes to invite. There were a few good ones in the Broken Thought tribe. However, she still needed to consider Ning Fan's opinion on which one to invite as her helper. Wu Yan was not a person who would make decisions on her own. It doesn't matter. Fellow Taoist Wu, you can just invite as you see fit. I have no objections. Just as Ning Fan's voice faded, noises were heard from the Illusory Sea Tribe's team. Judging from the situation, it was the leader of the Illusory Sea Tribe, a mid-thought-breaking realm man with a knife scar. He was quarreling with his Dao companion. The scarred man's Dao companion was naturally Tu Huang, who had a pseudonym of Green Spirit. Listening to the content of the quarrel, it turned out that Tu Huang had casually mentioned, "Why don't we team up with the Towerwood tribe?" As a result, he was reprimanded by the scarred man. It was no wonder that the scarred man would fly into a rage out of humiliation. He had already suspected that his little wife was having an affair with Ning Fan. Today, his little wife actually proposed to team up with Ning Fan of the Towerwood tribe. She was simply treating him, her husband, as a mere decoration. This was a blatant cheating on him. Little girl, do you really lack men this much? Could it be that my spear can't satisfy your needs? What's so good about being an external cultivator? Just by looking at his physique, I can tell that he's not that good in bed. How can he be compared to me? Being ordered around like a little girl by a Broken Thought Junior, Tu Huang's heart was filled with killing intent. However, he quickly suppressed it. Good. Very good. It seems like I've been pampering you too much recently and you've forgotten your identity. You're just my human cauldron. You're a human cauldron that I bought from a brothel. You're just a piece of trash who can sleep with 1,000 people. If it weren't for me, you would still be living like a dog. I've given you a new life but you actually want to betray me. Tu Huang lowered his head timidly on the surface. However, his heart was filled with killing intent. A pair of slender arms that can sleep with 1,000 people. Hee hee. Hee hee. Ning Fan could not help but wipe his sweat for that scarred man who acted recklessly. That scarred man was probably addicted to scolding Ning Fan. He kept on scolding Ning Fan endlessly, completely forgetting about the important matter of forming a team. Gradually, the time it takes for an incense stick to burn was almost up. Other than the Mirage Sea tribe, all the other tribes had already formed their teams in groups of 3. Those who had yet to form their teams were only Ning Fan, Wu Yan, and the noisy Mirage Sea tribe. Brother Ning seems to like the Mirage Sea tribe a lot. Wu Yan looked at the farce of the Mirage Sea tribe with deep meaning. Could it be that Ning Fan really had an affair with that woman called Qing Ling? Judging from her appearance, that Qing Ling could only be considered to be slightly good-looking. She could not be compared to my beauty at all. However, Ning Fan was actually indifferent to my beauty. Instead, he was interested in that silly little girl. His taste is really unique. Out of this consideration, Wu Yan did not invite anyone else to join her team. Instead, she waited for Ning Fan's decision. In her opinion, Ning Fan most likely wanted to form a team with the Mirage Sea tribe. She did not mind doing Ning Fan a favor and forming a team with the Mirage Sea tribe. Moreover, the Mirage Sea tribe was not considered as a strong tribe. Their attainments in the Tao of illusion techniques were much higher than many other powerful tribes. In that case, forming a team with the Mirage Sea tribe was not really disadvantageous. Ning Fan did not comment on Wu Yan's words. He just silently watched the couple drama of the Mirage Sea tribe. Time flew. After the scarred man reprimanded his wife harshly, he regretfully realized that there was not much time left to form a team. Moreover, the tribes that had yet to form a team were actually only the Mirage Sea tribe, the Tamu tribe and the Sea Shaman tribe. He actually had no other choice but to form a team with Ning Fan. Otherwise, once the time it takes for an incense stick to burn is up, the Mirage Sea tribe would lose the qualification to participate in the trial of illusion. Damn it. I can only form a team with that external cultivator. I wonder if those influential figures are willing to form a team with us. Actually, the scarred man only dared to be rude to his own people. Even though he was fierce to his wife, it did not mean that he was a fool who dared to provoke old monsters like Ning Fan and Wu Yan in public. After watching Ning Fan's experience in the trial of force, he would be a pig if he still dared to provoke Ning Fan. Thus, when Wu Yan proposed to form a team with the Mirage Sea tribe, the scarred man thanked her with great respect and greeted Ning Fan politely. On the surface, he appeared to be simple and honest, as if he did not know that Ning Fan and Tu Huang were exchanging glances with each other. Even though he was angry at his wife for having an affair, on second thought, it did not seem to be a loss for the weak Mirage Sea tribe to form a team with the powerful Sea Shaman tribe and the Tamu tribe. If it could allow the tribe to achieve better results, then losing an insignificant little girl would be a loss. The scarred man gritted his teeth and secretly made a decision in his mind. If the woman and that external cultivator with the surname Ning are secretly having an affair during the process of forming a team, then let her be. Based on the woman's flirtatious behavior, she would probably go and flirt with that external cultivator with the surname Ning once the team is formed. He would just pretend that he did not see it. Just as the scarred man had expected, as soon as they formed a team, Tu Huang went to talk to Ning Fan as if there was no one else around after they left their red fingerprints on the map of each tribe. Of course, it was a conversation using telepathy. Only her lips could be seen moving, but no one could hear what she said to Ning Fan. The scarred man only felt that his head was oily green. However, he could only sigh helplessly as he did not dare to get angry at Ning Fan. On the viewing platform, Ouyang Wan and Zhang Yu expressed that they had seen too many incidents of Ning Fan flirting with women. However, they were surprised that Ning Fan did not even let go of someone's wife. It seemed to be the first time. Ning Fan, who did not know that he had been misunderstood, was still communicating with Tu Huang through telepathy. His expression was rather solemn because Tu Huang told him a piece of news. Young man, you have to be careful in the illusory trial this time. Lu Tuo's disciple is not the only one who wants to kill you. According to the information that my spy in the Three Flames sent, there will be people from the Three Flames who will come to kill you this time. I heard that it's the senior of that Devil's Son Mengzhen. Devil's Son Mengzhen Senior. Ning Fan's eyes turned slightly grim. That Devil's Son Mengzhen was already an ancient immortal venerable expert. His senior would at least be at the immortal king realm or even an immortal emperor realm. He was already mentally prepared for the revenge of the Three Flames. After all, he had killed the dignified Devil's Son of the Stone Flame. Ning Fan did not believe that there would not be any revenge. However, he did not expect that the revenge would come at such a time during the illusory trial. However, you don't have to worry. As long as you can fulfill my requirements in this illusory trial, I will naturally protect you as a reward. The Meng clan isn't the strongest clan in the Stone Flame Pagoda. Even if the master of the Stone Flame Pagoda comes here personally, he won't be able to do anything to you even if I want to protect you, let alone the members of the Meng clan. Tu Huang said in an extremely conceited manner. His expression was filled with a sense of arrogance. I have yet to thank you for the Illusion Night Pearl. If you say that you don't have any other request for this item, I definitely won't believe it. You have appeared in front of me several times. I wonder what is it that you want? I want to know if you are a friend or foe so that I can tell you clearly. I have a request for you. Of course, I don't have any evil intentions. This matter is not urgent. I will tell you later. However, I can guarantee that this matter will also bring you great benefits. Oh yeah, there's one more thing that I need your help with. After entering the Fire Soul Tower, I will have to mobilize all my cultivation base to complete something. During this period of time, this physical body of mine won't be able to use any of its cultivation base and will be in an extremely weak state. When that time comes, you have to protect me well. Don't let this body of mine die miserably in the Fire Soul Tower. If that's the case, I'm afraid all my efforts in this trip to the Fire Soul Tower will be wasted. Don't worry, Mississippi. When your cultivation base is limited, I will certainly protect you. For the time being, it seemed that Tu Huang did not have any hostility towards him. Thus, Ning Fan treated him politely. Naturally, he was still wary of him. At the same time, he was also very curious about what exactly Tu Huang wanted from him. Perhaps it was related to the existence of this Fire Soul Tower. Soon, the incense stick burned out. The Heaven Emperor opened a door of light at the center of the public square. Under the guidance of the monks of the Brightness Temple, the tribes that had formed their groups entered the door of light in groups of 3. The rocky ground of the middle state was extremely hard. It was very difficult to reach the seal of 2 realms that was located deep underground with the earth escape divine ability. This door of light could directly reach the Fire Soul Tower of the seal of 2 realms. Soon, Ning Fan and his group also entered the door of light. Together with Tu Huang, Wu Yan, and the others, they were randomly teleported to a certain area on the first floor of the Fire Soul Tower. What greeted them was the fire elemental power that was twice as dense as the outside world. This Fire Soul Tower was truly a treasure land for fire cultivators to cultivate in. If it wasn't for the illusory trial, Ning Fan would be very willing to cultivate diligently in this place. It would certainly be beneficial for Feng Yinyang's cultivation to reach a higher level by condensing some Fire Dao Fierce Elemental crystals. Forget it. Important matters are more important. I can only put aside my cultivation for the time being. Ning Fan looked at the gray map. As they stepped into this place, a gray area on the map was randomly lit up and emitted a white light. The name of the area that was lit up was Illusory Bamboo Forest. East. Ning Fan looked at his surroundings. They were surrounded by collapsed and abandoned temples. When he looked to the west, he could see large patches of vigorous purple bamboos that were as tall as the sky. However, the bamboo forest was filled with yin qi. Sounds of ghosts wailing could be heard and the roars of beasts could be heard from time to time. Each of them carried the aura of an immortal king. Hiss. Our group's luck is really bad. We were actually randomly teleported to the 3rd area of the first floor of the Fire Soul Tower, the Illusory Bamboo Forest. According to the introduction of the map, the guardian of this bamboo forest is at the Immortal King realm. It will attack anyone who tries to enter the bamboo forest. The Illusory Bamboo Forest covers an area of 100 li. If we can activate the map of this place, we will be able to obtain a lot of points. Besides, according to the map, there are many ancient pills hidden in the depths of this forest. Unfortunately, this place is too dangerous. Obviously, it's not a place that we can enter. Wu Yan looked at the map and then looked at the purple bamboo forest in the west. She shook her head regretfully. The Fire Soul Tower was very strange. Before the second round of the mausoleum seizing competition began, the heaven and earth inside the tower would completely collapse and then be reborn. It could be said that the opening of the second round of the mausoleum seizing competition was the beginning of creation and destruction inside the tower. The reborn heaven and earth would be an extremely unfamiliar environment to anyone who enters it. Even though Wu Yan had entered the Fire Soul Tower more than 10 times during the non-mausoleum seizing competition, she still felt that this place had changed beyond recognition when she looked at it now. It was extremely unfamiliar. Without the introduction of the map, she would not even know where she was standing right now. The roar of the Immortal King Realm beast gave Wu Yan a great sense of danger. Thus, she did not plan to enter the depths of the Illusory Bamboo Forest at all. After activating the map, she could go to other places. There was no need for her to risk her life just for the points of 100 li of land here. Not only Wu Yan, but also the experts of the Sea Witch tribe and the Illusory Sea tribe were all frightened when they heard the roar of the Immortal King Realm beast. Each of them just wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. The commotion continued. None of them had the calmness of an immortal cultivator. Ning Fan, on the other hand, did not have the intention to leave this place in a hurry. Even though the map stated that this place was dangerous, as he activated the illusory breaking ability of his Fuli demon eyes, the bamboo forest in his eyes was like a mirage that was disappearing bit by bit. Gradually, the illusory bamboo forest in his eyes no longer existed. Instead, it had become something else. The so-called illusory bamboo forest was fake. The dangers recorded on the map did not exist at all. Even though Wu Yan and the others could not see through this with their attainments in illusion techniques, they could not hide it from Ning Fan's eyes. This place, just as Ning Fan was muttering to himself, a fragrant breeze blew against his face. First, it was the other party's black hair that brushed past his face. Then, he felt something soft in his arms. Both of Tu Huang's legs became weak. As if he could not stand steadily, he directly fell into Ning Fan's arms. Tu Huang's ears immediately turned red. Inwardly, he was secretly shocked. The power of creation and destruction in this Fire Soul Tower seemed to be suppressing her even more than before. Being caught off guard, her entire body went limp and she did not even have the strength to stand up. A pair of plump breasts pressed against Ning Fan's chest. No matter how decisive Sovereign Butcher was in killing, she was still a woman after all. Thus, she felt a little embarrassed by this kind of body contact. She wanted to break free from Ning Fan's embrace and stand up, but she did not have the strength to stand firmly. She could not help but feel a headache. Just now, you only said that I can't mobilize my cultivation base. But you didn't say that I can't even stand properly. Ning Fan felt speechless and transmitted his voice to her. The beauty in his arms was like a hot potato. He did not know whether to throw her away or hug her. This body was soft and fragrant, but in reality, it was a peerless malevolent star. I have miscalculated. The power of this pagoda is much stronger than before. Forget it. Right now, I don't have any strength left in my body. You might as well carry me and move forward. Tu Huang was rather straightforward. It was as if carrying him was just a small matter and he wouldn't lose any flesh or skin. Ning Fan was speechless. What? Unwilling? He didn't even dare to hug a woman who had delivered herself to his doorstep. You weren't this timid when you used your charm on me that day. Why don't you find your Dao companion? Isn't it better to let him carry you? He. Don't mention the word Dao companion in front of me. I'm already at the limit of my patience. I'm just worried that I won't be able to hold it in any longer and will massacre the entire illusory sea tribe. If that really happens, I would be going against the promise I made with Supreme Ox Ghost. I see. So it's because of the promise that you made earlier. That's why you're holding back your killing intent. Supreme Ox Ghost. Ning Fan's eyes narrowed slightly. How about this? I can't even stand properly now, let alone walk. Brat, you're a little tired. Carry me and walk for a while. In return, if you encounter an illusion formation that you can't dispel, I will give you some pointers regarding illusion techniques. What do you think? Pointers regarding illusion techniques? Ning Fan would certainly not reject the fact that he could receive pointers from a Palm Illusion Great Emperor. At that moment, he no longer felt that the soft body in his arms was a hot potato. Moreover, with Tu Huang in his arms, he was not afraid that he would change his mind. With such close physical contact, it would be a piece of cake for him to use his bewitching technique to deal with Tu Huang. No matter how strong Tu Huang was, with his bewitching technique, he was not completely powerless against him. At least, it would be enough to deal with the worst-case scenario. Thinking about it more deeply, perhaps Tu Huang asked him to carry her to make him feel at ease and believe that she did not have any ill intentions. With that thought in mind, Ning Fan's eyes brightened. Then, he directly carried Tu Huang in his arms under everyone's excited expressions. As for Tu Huang, he looked at Ning Fan meaningfully. Then, he wrapped his arms around Ning Fan's neck and nestled his small face in his chest. In the eyes of others, he was as shy as he could be. However, in reality, he no longer felt shy at all. Thus, he quickly got used to everything. The members of the Sea Witch tribe were speechless. This outsider with the surname Ning is so audacious. How dare he hug his teammate's wife in public? Isn't he afraid that his teammates will turn against him? Hugging him so eagerly without leaving any face for the members of the illusory Sea tribe. The members of the illusory Sea tribe were also silent. Each of them was staring at the scarred man. Some of them were sympathetic, some of them were angry, some of them were mocking him, and some of them were gloating over his misfortune. Their expressions varied according to whether their relationship with the scarred man was good or bad. The scarred man felt that his head was already covered with lush green lettuce. However, he was obviously already mentally prepared for it. He chuckled in a simple and honest manner and did not mind it at all. It seems like I've gained the bad reputation of seizing someone's wife for no reason. Ning Fan was a little speechless. He knew that Tu Huang was actually not the scarred man's Dao companion. Hugging Tu Huang was not really a heinous crime. However, he could not explain all of this to anyone. Since he could not explain it, he decided not to. Thus, Ning Fan hugged the beauty without any change in his expression. Tu Huang, on the other hand, simply nestled in Ning Fan's arms and secretly spread out his spirit sense, doing some kind of in-depth investigation of this fire soul tower. Since the person who was cuckolded did not say anything, Wu Yan naturally would not blame Ning Fan for anything. She was still smiling and said to Ning Fan, "I think that this place is too dangerous. Why don't we leave this place earlier and head to other places? What do you think, Brother Ning?" "Dangerous, huh? How about this? Let's split up and illuminate the map. I want to stay here and study the illusory formation of this illusory bamboo forest. All of you can leave first. What do you think?" "Alright. Since that's the case, my Sea Shaman tribe will part ways with Brother Ning here. I hope that Brother Ning won't stay here for too long and illuminate more maps as soon as possible. That's the right thing to do." Seeing that Ning Fan seemed like he really wanted to stay here for a while, Wu Yan did not say anything else. It was better for them to split up. If Sha Bai Lu comes to them, she would stay far away from them. There was no need for her to get involved. As long as she could share Ning Fan's results of the illusory test, it would be good. If that's the case, my illusory sea tribe will leave with Lord Wu Yan. The scarred man decided to bring the illusory sea tribe along with Wu Yan. As for his little wife, I'll let Ning Fan take advantage of her. Sigh. I'll just find a new one. After they split up, only Ning Fan and Tu Huang were left in this place. Ning Fan took a deep look at the illusory bamboo forest in front of him. Then, he suddenly carried Tu Huang and walked towards the depths of the bamboo forest. There seemed to be some kind of qi in the depths of the bamboo forest that was attracting his Fuli blood to move forward. Chapter 1038. The bamboo forest in front of him stretched for hundreds of miles. It was like a vast sea of bamboo. Ning Fan had been to the Sea of Bamboos in the tree world before, and he had left behind some memories there. Now that he was reminded of the past, he could not help but reminisce about it. The hollow bamboo contained a soul. The root of the soul was in the heart of the bamboo. The root of the soul and the heart of the bamboo were inseparable. I wonder how the old tree spirit, Mu Luo, is doing after he reunited with his old lover. Are my relatives and friends in the rain world doing well now? Has my mother awakened? Has the Dao fruit planted by my master ripened? Shaking his head, Ning Fan put away the distracting thoughts in his mind. He slowly moved forward in the bamboo forest while carefully observing the changes in the surrounding sea of bamboos. With his Fuli illusion breaking innate skill, it was more than enough to see through the illusion layout of this place. There were no immortal king illusory beasts here. It was even to the extent that the sea of bamboo before them was fake and did not exist. Being outside of the bamboo forest, he thought that he could easily see through the illusions of the bamboo ocean with his Fuli talent. However, once they stepped into the bamboo forest, it was a completely different feeling. The illusory sea of bamboo suddenly gave off an extremely realistic feeling. Now that he was on Mount Lu, he could not see through the sea of bamboos anymore. Gradually, Ning Fan's expression turned solemn. He had clearly walked in the bamboo forest for a long time, but for some reason, he felt like he was walking on the spot. It was as if with every step he took, the entire bamboo forest would move with him. He had a feeling that he had seen through the illusion of the bamboo sea, but after he saw through it, he would helplessly find that he was still in another layer of illusion. No, it wasn't just an illusion. He was really just making no progress. Ning Fan looked at the map on the leather scroll and found out that there were only a few lit areas on the map. This meant that he seemed to have walked very far in the bamboo forest, but in fact, he was just walking on the same spot. The time it takes for an incense stick to burn had passed. The time it takes for 2 incense sticks to burn had passed. Ning Fan walked around in circles. Somehow, he managed to get out of the bamboo forest and return to his original spot. Only then did he realize how powerful this bamboo forest's illusion technique was. This bamboo forest illusion technique doesn't seem to be as simple as I thought. Ning Fan thought to himself. Sovereign Tu was a little speechless. He then said to Ning Fan. "All right, young man. Put me down. You have been walking around in circles for 1 hour. Even though the trial of illusion will last for 1 whole month, you shouldn't waste your time like this. Forget it, after such a long time, I've already adapted to the suppressive force here and can walk freely." As soon as he finished speaking, Tu Huang twisted his slender waist and jumped down from Ning Fan's embrace. He landed on the ground and stretched his slightly numb body. After that, he stared at Ning Fan with a strange expression. Stare. 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 Ning Fan felt a little uncomfortable being stared at. He asked, "Why are you looking at me like that?" "I'm looking at a freak, the most mystical freak in the world." Tu Huang answered with a deadpan expression. "Freak? Are you talking about me? What do you mean? Tell me, if there is such a person in the world, who is a genius in illusions who can even ignore the great illusions like the 5-finger illusion, but is stumped by the entry-level, lower-grade great mystery illusionary technique, is this person a freak? What's the 5-finger illusion, and what's the great mystery illusionary technique?" Ning Fan asked. "That's not the main point. The main point is that you obviously have a great talent in illusions but you don't seem to have learned illusions systematically. Am I right?" I really haven't learned illusions systematically." "You have a good eye." Ning Fan nodded his head. "Good eye? You don't need to have a good eye to see through this. I'm afraid any first-grade Immortal Emperor Realm Illusion Master would be able to see that your foundation in illusions is very shallow. I've observed your method of breaking illusions and it seems like you only know how to break illusions forcefully. You don't even know the most basic, attack the illusion while concealing the real, and defend the illusion while setting up the illusion, let alone life illusion, death illusion, and mysterious 8,000 illusions. You only know how to wander aimlessly in the bamboo forest. That won't work. Indeed. Your talent in illusions is very high. With your talent in illusions, it's not difficult for you to break ordinary illusions by force. However, you should know that most of the illusions in the Fire Soul Tower are the famous great mystery illusions from the ancient times. If you don't understand the profound principles of illusions, you won't be able to break these ancient illusions unless your cultivation base is far beyond the creator of the formations. Do you really think that no one in the Sea Shaman tribe and the illusory Sea tribe can see through the real situation in the illusory bamboo forest? Do all of them really leave in a hurry because they are afraid of the beast roars of the fake immortal kings? I don't know about the others, but there must be a few people in the illusory Sea tribe who can see through the truth of the illusions in this place. After all, there is the only copy of the mysterious 8,000 illusions in the illusory Sea tribe. There must be people who can see through the existence of the mysterious great mystery illusions in this place. That's why they decisively gave up on this place and chose to light up the map of other places. Attack the illusion while concealing the real, defend the illusion while setting up the illusion while setting up the illusion, life illusion, death illusion. Ning Fan had only heard of these terms in the ancient books in the past. He did not know what they were referring to. There were too few illusion masters in the four heavens, and the inheritance of illusions that had been passed down from generation to generation was even less. These terms seemed to be extremely profound knowledge of illusions. It was not strange that Ning Fan did not know about them. The demon race, on the other hand, was extremely good at illusions. There were a lot of ancient illusions that had been passed down from generation to generation. Unfortunately, Ning Fan had never been to the heavenly demon world in the upper world. If he had gone there, it was highly possible for him to learn the knowledge of these illusions. As for the so-called mysterious 8,000 illusions, Ning Fan was sure that it was definitely his first time hearing about it. Ning Fan was well aware that the reason why Sovereign Tu had said so much was probably to give him some advice. Of course, he would not give up this opportunity to learn. After all, it was the great emperor of the illusory palm realm who was guiding him in illusions. If he could exchange this opportunity to learn, Ning Fan believed that there were many old monsters in the world who would be willing to spend their entire fortune just to listen to the teachings of the illusory palm realm's great emperor. Senior, are you saying that the illusions in this bamboo forest are not ordinary illusions but the mysterious great illusion technique that Senior mentioned? Ning Fan's eyes turned serious and asked. That's right. The illusions here are a type of mysterious great illusion technique. In the ancient times, there was once a strange genius in illusions in the Buddhist sect who was known as Venerable Tai Xian. His cultivation base wasn't at the peak, but his understanding of illusions was unparalleled in the world. This person collected more than 8,000 types of illusions that were the strongest in the world and compiled them into a book. After the book was completed, it was named Mysterious 8,000 Illusions. It was divided into 3 parts, the upper part, the middle part and the lower part. The illusions recorded in the upper part are the strongest, the middle part is the second and the lower part is the weakest. However, even the weakest mysterious great illusion technique is enough to be used as a trump card by a first-level thought fragmentation true immortal. Due to the existence of Venerable Tai Xian, the later generations even used the name, Mysterious Great Illusion Technique, as a general term for all-powerful illusions. The Mysterious Great Illusion Technique is divided into 3 grades. The illusions in this bamboo forest are just a low-grade Mysterious Great Illusion Technique. If the cultivation base of the person who cast the technique is slightly weaker, you would be able to forcefully break this technique with your abilities and walk into the depths of the bamboo forest. Unfortunately, the person who cast the technique is the Fire Soul Tower itself. In this case, you can only hope to break this technique if you understand the illusory nature of this technique. I know that you want to enter this bamboo forest because you sense the treasures in the depths of the bamboo forest, right? How about this? Follow me and I will bring you into this bamboo forest. It still doesn't work. Even though I can already walk, I can't run too fast in some places where I need to move quickly. I can't get away from the illusory nature of this technique. Forget it. Just hold me for a while more and listen to my commands. Then, you will naturally be able to enter the depths of this bamboo forest. Tu Huang walked towards Ning Fan and said in a very calm manner. Hold me. Oh. Ning Fan answered and carried Tu Huang in his arms once again. Due to their previous experience, the two of them did not feel too embarrassed when they carried each other in their arms this time. Instead, they were very calm. When Ning Fan carefully sniffed the fragrance of Tu Huang's body, he actually found that it was as sweet as honey. In the past, his heart was not calm so he did not notice it. What are you smelling? Tu Huang knitted his brows. Even though she did not mind physical contact between men and women, she was also unwilling to be teased by Ning Fan in public. I'm sorry. Ning Fan could not help but feel a little embarrassed when he was discovered sniffing the other party's body fragrance. You don't have to mind it so much. If you want to smell it, it's not impossible. By the way, you don't have to keep calling me Miss. You can just call me Qing Ling. Seeing that Ning Fan did not mean to tease him, Tu Huang did not mind it anymore. Instead, he teased Ning Fan. Isn't Qing Ling your alias? Could it be your real name? Of course it's my real name. I'm only pretending to be this identity. My name is real. Hee hee. I thought your real name is Tu Huang. Which woman in this world would have such a name? Tu Huang is just my nickname when I participate in the blood martial arena. It's the same as your nickname of the Fox of Slaughter. It doesn't have much meaning. From now on, you can just call me Qing Ling. Calling me Miss is really annoying. I won't call you little brat anymore. I'll just call you by your name. After all, I need to show you some respect since I have a favor to ask of you. Alright, enough with the idle chatter. There are some changes in the chi of the illusion technique here. Move according to the direction I'm pointing at. 20 steps to the south, 11 steps to the west. Change your direction and enter the bamboo forest from this direction. Tu Huang, who was in Ning Fan's bosom, commanded. Oh, it seems like I can't call this delicate woman Tu Huang anymore. Even if this woman kills people like flies, she would not be willing to bear such a name. Qing Ling, huh? Ning Fan moved according to the direction Tu Huang pointed at and entered the bamboo forest. Then, under Tu Huang's command, he slowly approached the depths of the bamboo forest. 9 steps to the west, 1 step back. 2 steps to the south. Every 3 breaths of time, move slowly. 3 steps to the east, 3 steps to the west, 2 steps to the east, 2 steps to the west. Every 4 breaths of time, move slowly. 79 steps to the west, move quickly, 10 steps in 1 breath. 227 steps to the east, move quickly again, 30 steps in 1 breath. Move quickly again. Slow down. Cut off the 13th purple bamboo from the left with your palm. Move this stone. Ning Fan felt puzzled by Tu Huang's command. It was as if there was a layer of barrier that prevented him from understanding the true meaning behind it. With the beauty in his arms, his speed was sometimes as fast as a cheetah, and sometimes as slow as a turtle. Sometimes he went east, sometimes he went west, and sometimes he destroyed some bamboo. After walking for an unknown period of time, the dense gaps between the bamboos in front of him suddenly opened up, revealing a large empty space. Tu Huang said, "We're here," and leaped down from Ning Fan's arms. Then, he looked around with interest. Ning Fan felt the weight in his arms lighten. His hands were free now. He then took out the map and checked it. After such a short period of time, all the areas of the illusory bamboo forest on the map had been lit up. Obviously, under Tu Huang's seemingly incomprehensible command, Ning Fan had already walked through 100 li of the bamboo forest and finally arrived at the depths of the bamboo forest. In this place, the scent that attracted his Fu Li blood became even stronger. Ning Fan kept the map and looked around. Then, he raised his head and his expression suddenly froze. In the sky above the empty space, among the fluttering bamboo leaves, there were hundreds of illusory purplish-black birds dancing gracefully. All of them were in the form of shadows. They glowed with lustrous light and their clear and melodious chirping in the air was as ethereal as an illusion. Under the lustrous light from their wings, this place was like a dream. The air was filled with a strange fragrance that was refreshing and refreshing. In addition to the faint purple bamboos in the surroundings, the depths of the bamboo forest actually had a kind of ethereal beauty that was isolated from the rest of the world. What a beautiful place. So that's why. Is it because of the cloud blood fruit? Tu Huang stretched his body lazily and turned to Ning Fan. Young man. No, Ning Fan. Do you know why there are so many flying souls dancing in this place? Didn't you tell me that it's because of the cloud blood fruit? Do you know what the cloud blood fruit is? I don't. The cloud blood fruit is a type of innate spiritual medicine. It's a spiritual medicine unique to my Debay clan. Consuming this fruit raw can increase a cultivator's qi and blood to achieve the purpose of strengthening part of their physical body. This fruit is born from blood. It must have grown in the place where an immortal emperor realm expert had fallen. With the blood of the expert as nourishment, it gradually took shape. After that, it would absorb the essence of heaven and earth and slowly grow. When it ripens, the spiritual fruit will turn illusory and turn into illusions that fill the sky. The medicinal effect of this spiritual fruit is also different depending on the blood of the experts that are used as nourishment. Looking at the illusory flying birds in this place. No, they are not ordinary birds. These flying birds should be demons without a doubt. The evil spirits of the winged demons, the Fuli clan. In this case, the effect of this cloud blood fruit should be to increase the chi and blood of the eyes. It can greatly enhance a cultivator's eyesight and achieve the effect of seeing through illusion techniques. Ning Fan thought to himself. Sure enough, these fluorescent birds that were dancing in various forms were the illusions of the Fuli clan. The cloud blood fruit that grows in this place must have absorbed the nutrients from the blood of the Fuli clan's demonic beasts. That was why it could produce these illusions. All of the flying birds in this place are transformed from the cloud blood fruit. Out of every 100 illusions, only one is real. If I want to obtain this fruit, I must capture one of the real bird shadows. Ning Fan, with your ability, you should be able to see which bird is the real one, right? Let me try. Perhaps Ning Fan's attainment in illusion techniques was just like what Tu Huang had said. His talent was extremely high but his foundation was lacking. However, his foundation in seeing through illusion techniques was top-notch. With the Fuli clan's innate talent in breaking illusions and the powerful heavenly being Law Eye, he easily found the real one among the hundreds of flying birds. Ning Fan's body swayed slightly and then he stood still again as if he had never left his original spot or leaped into the air. However, he had already caught the shadow of a flying bird in his hand. The shadow of the bird that Ning Fan caught flapped its wings. When it realized that it could not escape from Ning Fan's hand, it helplessly swayed its body and turned into a glowing, white and rosy fruit. Its skin was as tender as a baby's. The cloud blood fruit is in my hands. The moment he obtained the cloud blood fruit, all the other fake bird shadows disappeared. Touching the slightly cold cloud blood fruit in his hand, Ning Fan could feel the excitement of his Fuli bloodline. Obviously, this fruit was formed from the nourishment of the Fuli clan's blood. To others, consuming this fruit would only increase their ability to see through illusions. To Ning Fan, however, it could also improve the quality of his Fuli bloodline. There's no mistake. Tu Huang did not lie to me. As long as I touch this fruit, I will be able to understand the many benefits of this fruit through the senses of my bloodline. It was not that he did not think of keeping this fruit for himself. It was just that, Ning Fan noticed Tu Huang's fervent expression when he looked at this fruit. He could not help but calm down and suppress the fervent desire in his bloodline. Admittedly, he had entered this place for this cloud blood fruit. It would be best if he could obtain this fruit. However, at the same time, he also understood that without Tu Huang's help, it was impossible for him to enter the depths of this bamboo forest and obtain this cloud blood fruit with his current illusory technique. This fruit should belong to Tu Huang. With my illusory technique, it's not enough for me to enter the depths of this bamboo forest. I only managed to enter this place because of your guidance. You seem to need this fruit. Take it. Ning Fan smiled faintly and shoved the cloud blood fruit to Tu Huang. The way Tu Huang looked at Ning Fan immediately became a little strange, as if it was his first time seeing such a generous person. After a slight pause, the corners of his lips curled into a smile. If it's an ordinary cloud blood fruit, I wouldn't care. However, the effect of this fruit is a little special. To me, it is also quite beneficial. However, you seem to need this fruit as well. You seem to need this fruit as well. How about this, we each eat half of it? Half each? Ning Fan was slightly surprised. This fruit can only be consumed raw. Besides, it has a disadvantage. Once it's harvested, it must be consumed within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Otherwise, it will wither rapidly and lose its effect. In my great humble clan, this fruit is known as the epiphyllum in fruits because it will die right after it's born. Let's not waste any more time. It's decided then. We'll eat half each. You eat half first and give me the rest. Tu Huang shoved the cloud blood fruit back into Ning Fan's hand without hesitation. If it wasn't because Ning Fan had inspected the fruit and found nothing unusual, he would have thought that Tu Huang had set up some kind of trap in the fruit to lure him to eat it. After secretly inspecting the fruit, Ning Fan felt sorry for his narrow-mindedness. There was nothing wrong with the fruit. In that case, I can eat half of it without any worries and let Tu Huang eat the other half. Somehow, Ning Fan imagined the scene in his mind. Tu Huang's soft lips were slightly parted while he ate the remaining fruit with relish. His attitude was so refreshing and he did not seem to mind the saliva on the fruit. I think it's better for you to eat first. After thinking about this, Ning Fan decided to let Tu Huang eat first. Tu Huang looked at Ning Fan deeply. After a while, he smiled indifferently. "Ha! What a cautious young man, you're afraid that I might have done something to this fruit. That's why you want me to eat first, right? Hee hee. This little bit of caution is not a mistake in the cultivation world. Fine. Initially, I wanted to let you eat first so that you can eat more. Since you suspect me, I won't be polite anymore." As he thought of this, Tu Huang no longer acted courteously towards Ning Fan. In just a short while, he had eaten more than half of the fruit. He had eaten about 2/3 of it and only left 1/3 for Ning Fan. "I'll leave the rest to you." Hee hee. Hurry up and eat. You should know that the medicinal power of this fruit is going to dissipate once the time is up. Ning Fan looked at the remaining 1/3 of the cloud blood fruit in his hand and his forehead was filled with black lines. What happened to the agreement that we will share half of the fruit? Is it really a good idea for a dignified Tu Huang, a dignified expert who has half a step into the quasi-saint realm and a dignified great emperor who controls the illusion realm to go back on his words? Forget it. After all, I only got this fruit for free because of Tu Huang's guidance. It's not bad to eat 1/3 of it for free. Ning Fan brought the fruit to his mouth and was about to bite it. All of a sudden, he noticed that there were faint traces of rouge on the edge of the fruit. Thus, he raised his head and looked at Tu Huang's lips with a strange expression. If I continue to eat it like this, I think I will eat the rouge on Tu Huang's body as well. Hurry up and eat it. After eating it, we still have important matters to attend to. Even though this illusory trial will last for a month, it will take us a lot of time just to get to the bottom of the 6th floor. Seeing that Ning Fan was hesitant to eat the fruit, Tu Huang could not help but urge him. Obviously, she mistakenly thought that Ning Fan was a timid and cautious person who did not dare to eat the fruit that she had eaten before. When she thought of that, she really wished that she could snatch the remaining 1/3 of the fruit and eat it. It was such a waste for her to be kind and share the treasures with this junior in front of her equally. However, he still kept doubting her. Hee hee. Hee hee. She really wanted to kill him to vent her anger. This woman seems to have misunderstood something. Ning Fan shook his head. He no longer cared about the rouge on the fruit and wolfed it down like a tiger. In just a few bites, he finished the remaining fruit, leaving only the core. His first impression was that this fruit was very sweet. It was the kind of sweetness that carried the taste of blood. Obviously, it was because this fruit was born from blood. That was why it had such a taste. His second impression was that the rouge on the fruit was also quite sweet. It tasted like honey. He did not know what kind of rouge Tu Huang used. It seemed like no matter how cruel a woman was, she was still a woman after all. She still knew how to put on makeup and dress up. His third impression was that the medicinal power contained in this fruit was a little too immense. Come to think of it, it made sense. This was an innate spiritual herb after all. Even though it was only 1/3 of the fruit, it was still extraordinary if he ate it raw. Seeing that Ning Fan's face was flushed red as if he had eaten too much food, Tu Huang immediately frowned. She had forgotten about this. With her half-step quasi-saint physical body, it was not a big deal for her to swallow an innate spiritual herb raw. However, to Ning Fan, it seemed to be a little too much. Sit down and meditate. Circulate your spiritual energy and absorb the medicinal power. Forget it. I have other uses for this item anyway. I'll lend it to you for the time being. Right now, I can't use my cultivation base to help you quickly absorb the medicinal power in your body. However, the will of a saint that is contained in this item is enough to speed up your absorption under the pressure. It was also Tu Huang's fault for not knowing much about Ning Fan's background. That was why he was worried that Ning Fan's life would be in danger if he had eaten too much food. Ning Fan knew his own body very well. He was already prepared to absorb the enormous medicinal power of the innate spiritual herb. If he did not have this confidence, he would not dare to eat the innate spiritual herb raw. Originally, he wanted to resolve the enormous medicinal power in his body by himself. However, when he saw the item that Tu Huang took out, he gave up on his initial plan. If he had the help of the saints will provided by Tu Huang, he would be able to speed up his absorption of the medicinal power. Of course, he would not reject such benefits. Besides, he did not want to waste too much time in this illusory bamboo forest just to absorb the medicinal power. Tu Huang opened his mouth slightly and spat out a ray of blood light. Ning Fan could not see what was inside the blood light. It was wrapped up in layers of seals. Even with his spirit sense, he could not see through the seals at all to see what it was. Even though Ning Fan could not see what it was, he could clearly feel the enormous will that was coming from it. Saint's will. In the past, Ning Fan had used the immortal sovereign's will provided by the river demon in front of the true illusion river to quickly absorb a portion of the dark time fruits and greatly improve his cultivation base. Under the assistance and pressure of the will of an expert, the speed of the circulation of one's bloodline and magic power could be accelerated. In turn, the speed of absorption of the spiritual fruits and pills could be increased. In terms of quality, the saint's will was naturally far inferior to the immortal sovereign's will. However, in terms of quantity, it was different. The immortal sovereign's will that the river demon collected from the true illusion river was extremely diluted and heterogeneous. As for the item that Tu Huang took out, the amount of the saint's will was unimaginably massive. It gave Ning Fan the illusion that he was really facing a saint. In that case, the pressure that the saint's will brought to him was even greater than the immortal sovereign's will that he encountered in the past to a certain extent. Thank you. Ning Fan sat cross-legged on the ground and thanked her while absorbing the medicinal power in his body. It's just a small matter. You don't have to take it to heart. You can totally treat my help as the bargaining chip for our deal. Alright, quickly absorb the medicinal power in your body. Tu Huang pretended to be relaxed. Her delicate body was trembling slightly. In reality, she could not use a trace of her cultivation base at the moment. If she rashly used this item, it would naturally be difficult for her to resist the saint's will that was coming from the item. However, in order to save time and let Ning Fan quickly absorb the excess medicinal power in his body, she decided not to worry too much. With the help of this massive saint's will, the medicinal power of the cloud blood fruit in Ning Fan's body was completely absorbed in just a short while. After absorbing it, Ning Fan could clearly feel that his eyesight had become stronger. He could also see the illusory and real changes of the illusion technique in his surroundings more clearly than before. This was obviously the benefit that the cloud blood fruit brought to him. Of course, his Fuli bloodline had also improved to a certain extent after consuming this fruit. Even some of the ancestral blood that he had burnt in a fit of rage in the ancient wild region had been restored. It had directly recovered to 1/10 of its original strength. Speaking of which, you haven't consumed the reward that you obtained in the blood martial arena previously, right? It's rare for me to unseal this item, so I might as well borrow the pressure of this willpower to refine all the elixirs in your body and improve your strength. It's also very beneficial for my purpose of coming here. Tu Huang's face turned slightly pale as if she could not bear the pressure of the saint's will. However, she still pretended to be calm and said. Obviously, she had made up her mind to improve Ning Fan's strength in one go. Since Tu Huang had such a kind intention, Ning Fan naturally did not plan to reject her. With a flip of his hand, he took out the Nirvana Chalcedony and Lightning Body refining fruit that he had obtained from the blood martial arena and consumed them. The chi around his body was also continuously rising under the nourishment of the various medicinal herbs. His surging chi even turned into a violent gust of wind that swept across the bamboo forest and the entire place. Outside the bamboo forest, a ray of blood-red light that could ignore the forbidden power of the sky swept across the ground and landed outside the bamboo forest. As soon as the blood-red light fell, a man with a mean and merciless face walked out of it. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at the bamboo forest. It was Sha Bai Lu. What a delicious smell. Hee hee. Are you hiding in this bamboo forest? Fine. If that's the case, I will enter this bamboo forest and enjoy this delicacy of yours. Sha Bai Lu licked his lips. Then, he turned into a ray of blood-red light and dashed into the illusory bamboo forest. Chapter 1039. Ning Fan sat cross-legged on the empty ground deep within the sea of bamboo. He was using the saint's will to refine the massive medicinal power in his body. In midair, there was an object floating high up. Because of the layers of seals, it couldn't be seen clearly. The bloody light emitted by this object was dazzling and incomparably hot. It was just like a small sun, and it was so dazzling that one couldn't open their eyes. There was also a huge sage intent coming from the item, covering the entire area. Under the will of a saint of such a level, Ning Fan felt as if there were countless mountains on his back. Under the heavy pressure, the blood in his body flowed at a speed that was nearly 10 times, 100 times or even more than usual. His sweat had just flowed out of his body when it was evaporated by the terrifyingly high temperature on the surface of his body, producing sizzling sounds. His meridians were swollen and painful. Occasionally, his meridians would rupture and he would be injured. It was obvious that this was the result of the excessive flow of mana in his body. Fortunately, Ning Fan's body's self-healing ability was extremely terrifying. Even if he were to occasionally get injured, he would be able to heal himself quickly. Time passed very slowly, and it was very quiet beside his ears. Ning Fan was like a piece of sponge, crazily absorbing the overbearing medicinal power of the Mother Nirvana Chalcedony and the lightning body-quenching fruit. His eyes were tightly shut, and there was a slight hint of pain on his face. This pain was naturally caused by forcefully absorbing the medicinal powers of the various heavenly treasures. What was Nirvana Chalcedony? That was something that could only be extracted from mineral veins of 5 stars and above. The extraction process was even more brutal. It was necessary to destroy an entire mineral vein in order to extract a few drops of essence. The 12 drops of Mother Nirvana Chalcedony in Ning Fan's possession would require him to destroy at least 3 to 4 ore veins in order to extract them. If the medicinal power contained in them is converted to Mother Nirvana stones of the same grade, it would be enough to form 7 to 8 small hills of Mother Nirvana stones. In terms of cultivation, consuming these 12 drops of Nirvana Chalcedony was equivalent to 1,000,000 years of bitter cultivation for an ordinary remembrance fragmenting physique cultivator. As for those lightning body tempering fruits, even though their value was far inferior to the Nirvana Chalcedony, there were a lot of them. There were a total of 100 of them, and they were enough to offset the bitter cultivation of an ordinary remembrance fragmentation physique cultivator for 1 to 200,000 years. The immense medicinal power was being refined in his body. His ancient devil chi was also being nourished by these body refinement spiritual medicines, gradually rising. After burying Shin 23, Ning Fan's ancient devil cultivation base had already improved tremendously. He was already halfway towards the 10th nirvana of the heavenly devil realm. At this moment, his aura skyrocketed once again. Not only did he raise his cultivation base to the peak of the 9th nirvana of the heavenly devil realm, but he was also trying to break through the bottleneck of the 10th nirvana of the heavenly devil realm. One attack failed. The second attempt failed as well. The third time, the fourth time. He had no idea how many times he had tried, but he still could not truly attain the 10th nirvana of the heavenly devil realm. Gradually, the medicinal power in his body was completely digested. Ning Fan slowly opened his eyes and stopped the surge of his cultivation base. He knew what he was missing if he wanted to truly enter the 10th nirvana of the sky devil realm. It was a battle. In the past, he had also absorbed the power of the Mother Nirvana stone and broke through to the 9th nirvana of the heavenly devil realm. The reason why he succeeded when the conditions were right was because he had already accumulated enough bloody battles when his cultivation base was stuck at the 8th nirvana realm. He had only broken through to the 9th nirvana of the heavenly demon realm after entering the extreme dance sacred region. The time he stayed in the 9th nirvana of the heavenly demon realm was too short, and the baptism of bloody battles was too little. Ancient devils were born for battle. They were natural warriors. This was the last step to break through to the 10th nirvana of the heavenly devil realm. He must accumulate enough bloody battles in order to achieve the breakthrough. It seems like you have already completed the refinement. Not bad. Your chi seems to have become much stronger. Tu Huang pointed a white finger at the sky. The small blood-red sun that was hovering in mid-air immediately landed on her palm. Then, she swallowed it back into her body. Ning Fan noticed that Tu Huang's face was pale. He also noticed that his thin emerald green robes were sticking to his body because they were soaked in sweat. Obviously, Tu Huang, who could not use his cultivation base, was not having an easy time under the pressure of the saint's will. However, in order to help Ning Fan refine the medicinal power, she still released the saint's will magic treasure. Now, I owe Tu Huang a favor. However, this time, Ning Fan did not express his gratitude. He felt that Tu Huang was right. It was useless to express his gratitude verbally. As long as he could help Tu Huang in this trip to the Fire Soul Tower, he would be able to return the favor. Ning Fan stood up and patted off the dirt on his body. When he recalled Tu Huang's pale face, he suggested, "Miss, do you need to rest here for a while? We don't have much time to rest. When we are on our way later, you can carry me like how you did before. I can rest in your arms to save time." Tu Huang said with an indifferent tone. "Let's leave this illusory bamboo forest first. Hee hee. After we get out of this bamboo forest, there is still a great enemy waiting for you outside." Great enemy? Could it be? Since they were in the depths of the bamboo forest, Ning Fan's rain technique could not break free from the illusion. Thus, he could sense the situation outside the bamboo forest. Naturally, he did not know that Tu Bailu had already killed his way here. "As you have expected, it's him. Let's go and meet Lu Tuo's disciple." Tu Huang leaned into Ning Fan's arms. Ning Fan conveniently carried him up. Both of their expressions remained unchanged. After all, they had hugged each other many times. Under Tu Huang's guidance, Ning Fan found a bamboo path and entered. After turning left and right, they soon disappeared from sight. Outside the illusory bamboo forest, Tu Bailu wore a ferocious expression. Even with his attainments in illusion techniques, he actually could not enter this bamboo forest. He had tried a few times, but the result was that he could only walk out of the forest from the original path. He could clearly sense that Ning Fan was in this bamboo forest, but he just could not enter it. Troublesome. Things like illusion techniques might not be strong enough in terms of attack power, but they were usually very troublesome. Especially the illusion technique that was cast in this bamboo forest. Judging from its grade, it had already reached the level of the low-grade profound illusion technique. Moreover, this place was the Fire Spirit Tower. Wanting to enter this bamboo forest was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Tu Bailu often came to the Fire Spirit Tower for seclusion in the past. Thus, he naturally knew how difficult it was to enter the great profound illusion technique in the tower. After his attempts were futile, he could only give up on entering the bamboo forest for the time being. Interesting. Interesting. Even I can't enter this bamboo forest, but that Ning Fan can. This person's ability seems to be above mine. Indeed, he is worth killing. As he thought of this, Tu Bailu's expectation of killing Ning Fan became even higher. Only someone like Ning Fan was worthy of being killed by him. Since Ning Fan could not enter the bamboo forest, he sealed the land within a few hundred li of the bamboo forest with a great ability. No matter which direction Ning Fan walked out from, he would be able to rush to him immediately and kill him outside the bamboo forest. He did not believe that Ning Fan would stay in the bamboo forest forever. Come out now. Come out and face your death. Let me kill you and drink your blood. Due to being overly excited, Tu Bailu's facial expression was distorted to an exaggerated extent. During this period of time, other participating tribes would occasionally pass by this place. Since Tu Bailu had nowhere to vent his killing intent, he casually killed all the experts of those tribes. When Ning Fan walked out of the bamboo forest, what he saw was the ground littered with corpses and Tu Bailu, who was sitting on a female corpse while playing with a bloody head in his hand. Ning Fan did not take any other route. Under Tu Huang's intentional guidance, he directly appeared in front of Tu Bailu as soon as he walked out of the bamboo forest. The moment he saw Ning Fan, Tu Bailu, who had been waiting for a long time, suddenly crushed the head in his hand and stood up. Dirty blood and brain matter splashed all over his body, but he did not care at all. His eyes were filled with excitement that was close to madness. You're finally willing to come out. The killing intent that he had been suppressing for a long time was finally released at this moment without any reservation. The surging baleful qi turned into bloody flames that filled the sky and fell to the ground like meteors. Not long after, the surroundings had turned into a sea of fire. Ning Fan frowned and put Tu Huang, who was watching the show, in his arms to one side. As for Tu Huang, he whispered to Ning Fan to finish the battle quickly. Then, he consciously walked far away, distancing himself from the battle between Ning Fan and Tu Bailu. What will come will come. Ning Fan was not surprised that Tu Bailu would come knocking on his door. However, Ning Fan did not expect that Tu Bailu would come so quickly. Judging from the speed at which he found him, he must have started searching for his whereabouts as soon as he arrived at the Fire Soul Tower. This person doesn't seem to care about the result of the illusory test at all. He doesn't even care about the number of points on the map. He just wants to kill me. From Tu Bailu's eyes, Ning Fan could read the desire and greed. This person wanted to kill him not only because of Emperor Luo Tuo's order but also because of his desire to kill. Your continuous provocation has already exceeded my tolerance. If you insist on courting death, I don't mind having another corpse under my feet. The surrounding killing intent did not affect Ning Fan's heart at all. He said coldly. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Tu Bailu suddenly burst into laughter uncontrollably, as if he had heard a great joke. From his point of view, how could a mere immortal venerable external cultivator be a match for him? Even his master had yet to figure out the limits of his strength. Thus, it would be a piece of cake for him to deal with Ning Fan. What was ridiculous was that a mere external cultivator thought that he could be on par with Tu Bailu just because he had an immortal venerable cultivation base. Did he think that he could disregard him just because his result in the forceful test was slightly higher than his? Ridiculous. How ridiculous. Putting aside the fact that this external cultivator's cultivation base was currently sealed, he was just a first tribulation immortal venerable even if he was at his peak state. A first tribulation immortal venerable was not enough to kill him. Even a second tribulation immortal venerable was still not enough. Do you know why I want to kill you? After laughing, Tu Bailu suddenly spoke with an extremely disdainful tone. Because you and I are the same kind of person. You seem to have killed quite a number of people as well. Unfortunately, you are still on par with me. Have you heard of the Tao of family killing? I have killed my father, mother, wife and children. I have killed too many of my closest relatives. However, this Tao of family killing is still flawed. I have yet to kill my master, but I have to kill myself. As long as my cultivation base reaches a certain level, it won't be difficult for me to kill my master. However, the hardest part is to kill myself. To kill one's family is to kill all of my closest relatives. However, among all the people in this world, the ones who are closest to me are actually not my parents, wife and children but myself. I can bear to hurt everyone in this world, but I can't bear to hurt myself. Everyone in the world might be my enemy, but only I will never betray myself. Of course, I can't kill myself. Thus, I can only settle for the next best thing, which is to find experts who are similar to me and kill them. You are the best choice. There are usually only two types of people who stand at the peak of killing but do not lose their original heart. The first type is the ferocious beasts who guard their nests. They can kill all the enemies who come to them to protect their nests. The second type is the hunters. I am a hunter and so are you. We are both people who are controlled by the desire to kill in our hearts. We are the same kind. However, even though we are the same kind, there is a fundamental difference between us. That is, I am stronger than you. You don't seem to have a deep understanding of this point. Ning Fan's frown deepened. So it's the Tao of family killing. No wonder this 2 Bai Lu's qi is so ferocious. If Ning Fan were to ask which Tao he hated the most, the Tao of family killing would undoubtedly be the first one. However, Sha Bai Lu was mistaken. Ning Fan knew that even though he had killed many people in his life, he was a completely different kind of person from Sha Bai Lu. If he had to put it in another way, he was more like the ferocious beasts who guard their nests in Sha Bai Lu's words. Next, I will let you witness the huge difference in strength between us. Buddha Void Escape. Sha Bai Lu's body shone with blood-red light and he suddenly disappeared from his original spot. He did not even leave a trace of his afterimage behind. It was extremely strange. The middle state prohibited the use of flying. The Fire Spirit Tower's restrictive power was countless times stronger than the outside world. In this place, perhaps only immortal Emperor Realm cultivators could use flying light to move. At the very least, Ning Fan knew that he could not use flying light in this place. At most, he could only rely on his agility to run. However, Sha Bai Lu was able to use flying light. It was really strange. Moreover, his speed was not any slower than the penetrating golden light that Ning Fan had comprehended. In fact, it was even slightly faster than the penetrating golden light that Ning Fan had just comprehended. Before Ning Fan could even see Sha Bai Lu's figure clearly, he had already instinctively put up a defensive stance. The Hui Dragon Claw directly appeared and struck at a distance of 1 zhang in front of him. Almost at the same time the attack was launched, a blood-red shadow that was as tall as a human appeared in front of Ning Fan. It was none other than Sha Bai Lu. Boom! The 5 black slashing waves of the Hui Dragon Claw accurately hit Sha Bai Lu who had just launched his attack. However, when the force of the collision spread, Ning Fan's left arm felt a sharp pain and numbness. Then, he was forced to take a few steps back by Sha Bai Lu's attack. He was obviously at a disadvantage. Not only was Sha Bai Lu's speed extremely fast, but the strength of his physical body was also definitely not weak. Moreover, it was far stronger than Ning Fan who was currently sealed. What made Ning Fan's eyes turn gloomy was that after the attack, Sha Bai Lu's figure that was so fast that he could not be seen with his naked eyes actually changed his direction with a whistling sound and rushed towards Tu Huang who was not far away. Tu Huang originally wanted to watch the show and see how Ning Fan was going to deal with Sha Bai Lu's provocation. However, she did not expect that Sha Bai Lu would actually dare to attack her. Her beautiful eyes immediately flashed with cold light. Behind the cold light, there was more of a solemn expression. Currently, she could not use even a trace of her cultivation base. Moreover, even though her cultivation base was high, she cultivated the Tao of illusion. Therefore, her physical body was not the strongest among the immortal emperors. If Sha Bai Lu attacks her body head-on, even if her physical body was not destroyed, she would still be severely injured. If she had a trace of cultivation base, she would not end up in such a predicament. However, at this moment, she was faced with a crisis. Of course, it was not that she did not have a backup plan to deal with these dangers. However, each of those backup plans would require her to pay a hefty price. So what if I have to pay the price? I can't let a junior bully me. Just when Tu Huang was about to do something, she suddenly felt that there was nothing beneath her feet. Then, her body was engulfed by Sha Bai Lu's blood-red light attack. I'll kill a hindrance first before I kill you. As soon as the blood-red light dispersed, the place had already turned into ruins. Broken limbs could be vaguely seen under the ruins. It was unknown whether these limbs belonged to the corpses on the ground or Tu Huang. Then, Sha Bai Lu slowly revealed himself with a blood-red bone sword in his hand. As usual, after killing someone, he placed the sword in front of his mouth, wanting to lick the warm blood on the sword. However, he only managed to lick the air. Instantly, his eyes turned grim. There was no blood on the sword. His attack this time actually did not hit its target. How could a little girl from the illusory sea tribe possibly dodge his attack? His sinister gaze swept across Ning Fan's direction. When he saw Ning Fan carrying a beautiful woman in his arms, he immediately understood what had happened. Somehow, Ning Fan managed to pull Tu Huang to his side at the critical moment, allowing him to avoid this attack. At this moment, Tu Huang was in Ning Fan's arms. Beneath her feet was a jade sky vortex filled with spatial power that was slowly disappearing. To the current Ning Fan, the power of the spatial vortex technique was not strong enough. It was no longer suitable to be used in fights of magic power. However, it was still very useful in saving someone's life. Using the spatial teleportation ability of the spatial vortex technique, he directly teleported Tu Huang, who was far away, to his side. That was how he managed to avoid Sha Bai Lu's attack. Tu Huang's expression was slightly uneasy. After living for so many years, this was the first time she was saved by a junior whose cultivation was lower than hers. Her eyes became absent-minded for a moment, but she regained her senses in the blink of an eye. She felt that Ning Fan was hugging her very tightly this time. If it wasn't for the fact that he was hugging her too tightly, why would she feel her breathing quickening? One should know that she had already lost count of the number of times she had been hugged by Ning Fan. Other than the initial moment where she felt awkward because of the difference between a man and a woman, she had already gotten used to this level of body contact. However, this time, for some unknown reason, she felt that Ning Fan's embrace was pricking her like a pit. She could not stay here for too long. She had to leave immediately. Tu Huang twisted his waist and broke free from Ning Fan's embrace. Then, he frowned and scolded Ning Fan. "Without you helping me, I wouldn't have been injured by him. Didn't I tell you to end the battle quickly? Why are you still wasting time with him? I'll give you 3 breaths. Chop him into pieces." In other words, he seemed to be blaming Ning Fan for saving her unnecessarily. He was also blaming Ning Fan for dilly-dallying and not ending the battle as soon as possible. Ning Fan frowned, but he did not say anything. He was indeed wrong. He knew that Sha Bai Lu was not easy to deal with. He should not have held back. Instead, he should have gone all out at the first moment to finish off his opponent. Speaking of which, the reason why he did not use the night illumination pearl that Tu Huang gave him to recover his full cultivation base at the first moment he faced Sha Bai Lu was because he wanted to use Sha Bai Lu as a stepping stone to gauge what level his strength had reached after his ancient devil cultivation base had skyrocketed once again. Today, he had already tested it. His ancient devil cultivation base was much stronger after it had skyrocketed. However, against an opponent like Sha Bai Lu who had the strength of an immortal venerate from the ancient times, his current ancient devil cultivation base was still not enough. There was no other reason other than the huge gap between their cultivation bases. Since he had already tested it, it was more important to finish off his opponent as soon as possible. Ning Fan flipped his hand and took out the illusion night illumination pearl that Tu Huang gave him. He channeled his magic power into it and slightly activated it. Immediately, a wave of illusion power that was as warm as water spread from the pearl into his body. "Humph. Your Tao of slaughter seems to have yet to reach the level where you are heartless. You actually can't bear to part with a mere woman and even want to save her. What a joke." Sha Bai Lu naturally did not know about the changes in Ning Fan's body. Just as he was about to launch another attack, his pupils suddenly widened. Then, it was an unprecedented excitement. Ning Fan had actually broken free from the seal of the punishment ring and temporarily recovered his cultivation base. It can't be wrong. Ning Fan's chi was rising steadily. This delicious dish was finally going to show its most delicious side. However, Ning Fan did not seem to have destroyed the punishment ring to recover his cultivation base. Instead, He used some kind of special method. Shah Bailu's eyes narrowed slightly. Rumor has it that there was an item called the punishment releasing cold dew in ancient times. It could temporarily dissolve the seal of the punishment ring without destroying it. Could it be that Ning Fan used this item to recover his cultivation base without destroying the punishment ring? Forget it. Who cares how he recovers his cultivation base? As long as he can recover his cultivation base, it will be the best outcome. Shah Bailu indeed wanted to kill Ning Fan, but he did not want to kill him when he was at his weakest. Only by killing Ning Fan when he was at his strongest could he prove the Tao of killing Qin. Good. Very good. Since you have already recovered your cultivation base, I will let you know that even if you recover your cultivation base, you are still not my match. Before Shah Bailu could finish his words, he suddenly saw a flash of red light in front of him. Ning Fan had already arrived in front of him. He did not even see Ning Fan's attack clearly before he was sent flying away while spurting out a mouthful of blood. Violent winds howled. An unknown evil red light swept across all directions. Under the red light was Ning Fan's white-robed figure that was fluttering in the wind. His long hair danced wildly like a devil. His pair of eyes were as cold as ancient profound ice. It was a coldness that was different from Shah Bailu's. Shah Bailu's coldness was cold and merciless. As for Ning Fan's coldness, it gave people a feeling that it was as merciless as the heavenly Tao. It was a kind of arrogance that disregarded all living beings in the world. It was a gaze that belonged to the Tai Tsung Jia Ling. It was a realm that Shah Bailu's current Tao of killing Qin could not reach. One must know that the Tai Tsung Jia Ling was the true ancestor of the Tao of killing Qin. How could he not know that during the collapse of the Purple Do immortal domain in the past, there were many who were as strong as sages who were controlled by the Tai Tsung Jia Ling? Shah Bailu's entire body was trembling. He seemed to be afraid, but he also seemed to be excited. Ning Fan's powerful strength had astonished him. This level of strength was definitely not something that an ordinary First Tribulation Immortal Venerable would possess. This strength was already very close to the Second Tribulation of the Eternal Era. No. In terms of offensive power alone, there were not many Second Tribulation Immortal Venerables who could reach this level. Was Ning Fan really just a First Tribulation Immortal Venerable? Shah Bailu, you are very strong, but you shouldn't have provoked me. This is the first attack. Next is the second attack. Another red light flashed. Shah Bailu's eyes widened and became bloodshot. Facing the incoming red light, he fiercely thrust the blood-red bone sword in his hand. This strike even contained a trace of the power of the Tao law of slaughter that he had comprehended since he started cultivating the Tao. However, under Ning Fan's 5 fingers, the power of the Tao law of slaughter, that level of Tao law was shattered along with the sword itself. Shah Bailu himself spurted out a mouthful of blood. He was sent flying tens of li away by Ning Fan's attack. His body was deeply embedded into the mountainside of a mountain. His chi directly became much weaker. In this attack, he used the power of a Tao law that he had just comprehended. Initially, he thought it would be able to slightly suppress Ning Fan. However, he did not expect Ning Fan to use more than one Tao law. Moreover, he had comprehended all of them to a relatively profound level. 2, 3, 4. I can't see through them. I can't tell how many Tao laws there are. How can an immortal venerable cultivator comprehend so many Tao laws? How is this possible? I don't believe it. Rumble, with a loud bang, the mountain collapsed. Shah Bailu flew out from within the blood escape technique. It was just tens of li. In just the blink of an eye, he had crossed the distance and returned to his original location. Then, he dashed towards Ning Fan in a frenzy. He did not believe it. He did not believe that there was such a huge gap between him and Ning Fan. It was not like he had never killed a Second Tribulation Immortal Venerable before. How could he lose to Ning Fan by so much? How is this possible? You are very strong. However, if I'm not mistaken, this strength actually doesn't belong to you. Your true strength has yet to attain the immortal venerable realm. The reason why you possess strength that surpasses the immortal venerable realm is because you have seized the souls of your loved ones and fused them into your body. In reality, you still can't use this cultivation base and this strength as you wish. It's because your Tao of slaughter is wrong. When you killed your loved ones, do you really not feel guilty in the bottom of your heart? Ning Fan's body swayed. His body was hidden in the bloody light and he dashed towards Sha Bailu. Then, after unsealing his cultivation base, they clashed head-on for the third time. Heaven and earth rumbled continuously. As a result, Sha Bailu was once again sent flying by Ning Fan like a dead dog. While he was flying, his physical body kept breaking down. Obviously, his physical body had accumulated too many serious injuries. He could fight against a second tribulation immortal venerable. However, Ning Fan, who possessed many types of Tao laws, had even fought against peak immortal kings before. While fighting against a mere Sha Bailu, Ning Fan easily gained the upper hand by relying on his domineering attack power. After clashing 3 times, Ning Fan realized that after unsealing his cultivation base this time, his strength was obviously much stronger than before he entered the Supreme Pill Saint region. After thinking about it for a while, he figured out the reason. When the 4 bloodlines of the divine, demon, and devil tribulations merged into one, one's cultivation base was not simply calculated by adding each other. Instead, they would complement each other and enhance each other. As for the power of Tao laws that he had comprehended, it was not as simple as using it to enhance his attacks. It could also be fused into his strength. In the past, due to the imbalance between his bloodline of the divine, demon, and devil tribulations, he could only display 70 to 80% of his total strength. As for the remaining 10 to 20%, it was consumed to balance the power within his body. Now that his ancient devil cultivation base had improved by a lot, this unbalanced situation had also eased up a little. If he could only display 70 to 80% of his strength in the past, he could now display close to 90% of it. It was as if there were many kinds of power clashing and colliding inside his body. Eventually, the streams converged into a river and the river flowed into the river, converging into an ocean. If Ning Fan only used the power of Jie Shui, it was impossible for him to fight against Sha Bailu with his bare hands. In order to completely suppress him, he would at least need to use some magic treasures and abilities. However, at this moment, Ning Fan could clearly feel that all the power in his body had fused together and converged into an ocean. 1,000,000 small streams could not drown a person to death. However, an ocean was different. Even if the volume of water was the same, the difference in power was like heaven and earth. The power that could be exerted was not the same as Jie Shui's cultivation base. Instead, it was a power that was infinitely close to the second eternal tribulation. In the past, I only thought that the reason why Great Emperor Ancient Chaos cultivated the divine, demon, and devil bloodlines at the same time was to increase the total amount of his cultivation base. Now, it seems like this idea is wrong. The fusion of the divine, demon, and devil bloodlines will become a new power. From a quantitative change, it will bring about a qualitative change in power. If there is another Taizong Jie Shui that even Great Emperor Ancient Chaos could not achieve, then this qualitative change will be even greater and more complicated. Now, I am displaying power that far exceeds Jie Shui's cultivation base. This is the proof of this qualitative change. At this moment, Ning Fan felt like he had just gained a new understanding of the yin-yang transformation, which was a monumental work that combined multiple bloodlines. In the eyes of others, this dual cultivation technique was not worth mentioning at all. However, it seemed to be hiding a great Tao that ordinary cultivators could never reach. Chapter 1040. Sha Bailu crawled on the ground, struggling to get up. Unfortunately, Ning Fan did not give him the chance to do so. With a wave of his sleeve, the red light of the tribulation sense enveloped Sha Bailu's body. With a loud sizzling sound like thunder, Sha Bailu's physical body exploded into a mist of blood. His primordial spirit was corroded by the red light of the tribulation sense. He kept screaming in pain. Judging from his appearance, he was not far from death. He could not even speak properly. Sha Bailu was very strong. As a peak thought fragmentation realm cultivator, he was able to fight against an immortal venerable who was at a higher cultivation realm than him. However, Sha Bailu was not the only one in this world who had combat strength that could surpass his cultivation realm. At the very least, Ning Fan's combat strength was much stronger than Sha Bailu's. At this moment, Ning Fan unleashed all of his cultivation realm. With a strength that was infinitely close to the second eternal tribulation, he fought against Sha Bailu, who was at the peak thought fragmentation realm. In just 3 attacks, he had lost his physical body and only his primordial spirit was left. Under normal circumstances, when a cultivator was beaten to the point where only their primordial spirit was left, they basically did not have much strength left to continue fighting. Most of the time, they could only choose to escape. If they were lucky, they could escape. If they were unlucky, they could only be killed by their opponent. However, Sha Bailu's situation was very strange. His primordial spirit was obviously left and his chi was obviously weak. But the sense of danger he gave Ning Fan was even stronger than before. Ning Fan's eyes were filled with ruthlessness. Just as he was about to give Sha Bailu's primordial spirit the final blow, the corner of his eyes suddenly shrunk. Without saying anything, he retreated. At the moment when he retreated, Sha Bailu's primordial spirit suddenly stopped screaming. His small face revealed a sinister smile and he uttered a strange incantation. All of a sudden, a large amount of grey qi emerged from his primordial spirit. Wherever the grey qi shrouded, the blood flames on the ground were all extinguished. The flesh and blood of the corpses on the ground dried up. The moist soil cracked after being enveloped by the grey qi. The grey qi continued to spread. The mountains, rivers, grass and trees. Everything that was shrouded by the grey qi, whether it was living or dead, lost all vitality within a few breaths. This is, the moment Tu Huang saw the grey qi, he was slightly surprised even with his vast experience. Then, he felt his body becoming lighter. It was Ning Fan who was hugging him. Both of them retreated quickly on the ground that was engulfed by blazing blood flames and grey qi. The current Ning Fan had temporarily unsealed his cultivation base. Naturally, his speed of retreat was very fast. On the ground, only a ray of red light could be seen skimming across the ground. Very quickly, he left the range of the grey qi and revealed himself. Ning Fan put down Tu Huang who was in his arms and stared at the grey qi in front of him with a solemn expression. The grey mist released by Sha Bailu's nascent soul covered dozens of miles of land. The grey qi was very powerful. At this moment, the flesh and blood on his entire right forearm had dried up like a dried corpse. All the blood had been drained from his arm. Even though he had retreated extremely quickly, he was still ambushed by Sha Bailu. Fortunately, Ning Fan's recovery ability was extremely strong. The dried flesh and blood were quickly healed by the Nirvana flame. Gradually, the grey mist that had spread for dozens of miles dissipated. Sha Bailu's excited laughter reverberated in the wind. As expected, it is indeed a delicious prey. Just you wait for me for 7 days, I will be back. Ha! Ha ha ha! As the originator of the grey qi, Sha Bailu's primordial spirit had actually died in the center of the grey qi. The small face of the primordial spirit's corpse still had a sinister and vicious smile. On the surface, those words were just his unresigned roars before his death. After 10 breaths of time, the appearance of this primordial spirit suddenly changed. From Sha Bailu's appearance, it turned into a child who had his hair tied up in a bun. He wore a cute smile as if he was sleeping soundly. After that, the primordial spirit with the appearance of a child turned into ashes and vanished into thin air. Strange. Why did the appearance of this primordial spirit change after Sha Bailu died? Ning Fan's cultivation base that was temporarily unsealed gradually returned to its original level. Very quickly, his qi reduced to its previous level. He checked the illusion night pearl. It seemed like less than 1/6 of its power had been used. Since the battle ended very quickly, this pearl could still be used for many more times. If I'm not mistaken, this Sha Bailu should still be alive. Lu Tua might not be capable, but this disciple of his is really quite capable. Sovereign Butcher carefully looked at the place where Sha Beilu's primordial spirit turned into ashes. Then, he pinched a trace of the ashes and sniffed it. Then, he came to a conclusion. His words made Ning Fan's eyes turn solemn. He actually managed to escape. Ning Fan did not expect that Sha Bailu would still have the chance to escape under his complete suppression. That's right. This young man's escaping technique is quite unique. I have only seen one person who has successfully cultivated this technique in the past. However, I didn't expect that there would be a second person who could cultivate this kind of evil ability. If this young man really used this technique, I won't be able to stop him even if I am at my peak state if he wants to escape. It's because this kind of ability doesn't actually allow one to escape from a real battlefield. Instead, it allows one to obtain a second life in another place after death, which is called reincarnation. Reincarnation? Have you heard of the Death Emperor of the Three Flames continent? I've heard a little about it. The Three Flames continent is divided into three major branches, the Stone Flame, the Wood Flame and the Sky Flame. Among the three major branches, the Sky Flame is the weakest. However, the weakest branch, the Sky Flame, is guarded by the strongest expert of the three flames. The strongest expert of the three flames is the Death Emperor. It is said that he is as famous as the Light Buddha, the strongest expert of the sacred mountain. Ning Fan thought for a while and answered. Then, have you ever heard of the Death Emperor's strongest technique? Sovereign Butcher asked again. No. Let alone you. Even the 5 emperors of the Middle State are not qualified to know about this. The Death Emperor's strongest technique is what he comprehended from the last of the 5 great supreme beings. This isn't a power that should exist in the illusory world. Instead, it comes from the legendary true world. This power is called desolation. It is said that in the true world, hundreds of powerful clans were born because of the power of desolation. Among them, the most famous clan is the Ancient Desolation Immortal Domain. The master of the Ancient Desolation Immortal Domain is probably the person who has the highest understanding of the power of desolation in the true world. Sovereign Butcher paused for a moment and knitted his brows. However, he still continued to explain to Ning Fan. Ning Fan's eyes immediately turned solemn. Ancient Desolation Immortal Domain. True world. These information were undoubtedly the greatest secrets of heaven and earth. It was not strange for existences like the 5 emperors of the Middle State not to know about these things. However, the problem was, how did Sovereign Butcher know about them? Could it be that Sovereign Butcher was an old monster who had lived since ancient times like Great Emperor Zhongyu and Immortal Concubine Zhongyu? However, even Great Emperor Zhongyu and Immortal Concubine Zhongyu were extremely secretive about the secrets of the true world. They were unwilling to tell Ning Fan more about it. There were some things that one did not have the right to talk about if one's cultivation base was not high enough. However, Sovereign Butcher actually dared to casually mention such a great secret of heaven and earth. Isn't he a little too audacious? I'm not an expert of the true world. Instead, I'm someone who was born and raised in the Supreme Pill's sacred region. When I was born, the passage between the Supreme Pill's sacred region and the true world had already been cut off for many years. The entire Supreme Pill's sacred region had also been completely devoured into the illusory dream world created by that Lord of the Purple Dough immortal world a long time ago. The information related to the true world was not told to me by others. It was also not something that I read from any books. Instead, it was something that I dreamt of. Do you find it very unbelievable that I can actually dream of such profound and unfathomable secrets in my dreams? Sovereign Butcher explained as if he had seen through Ning Fan's concerns. At this moment, Sovereign Butcher seemed to have let go of his lofty and aloof demeanor as the Sovereign Emperor. His eyes were very ethereal and distant. Along with his memories, they drifted back to a long time ago. When I first dreamt of these things, I was just an ignorant little girl. In my dreams, I saw strange and dazzling sceneries one after another. In those sceneries, there were too many all-powerful immortal emperors. There were saints who established sects and preached the Tao. There were even existences who were even stronger than saints. It was a world that was completely different from the Supreme Pill's sacred region that I was living in. Later on, as my experience grew, I realized what kind of world the world that I dreamt of was. The true world. What made me even more incredulous was that the scenes that I dreamt of were actually not illusions. Many of the fragments of my dreams were actually things that had really happened in the true world. Moreover, the reason why my attainment in illusion techniques could reach my current level is largely related to the many illusion techniques of the true world that I had seen in my dreams. This is also the reason why I came to the Fire Soul Tower this time. There was a layer of confusion in my heart. I wanted to know the source of these dreams and where they came from. Gradually, this confusion actually became a devil in my heart, a bottleneck. I am only half a step away from attaining the quasi-saint realm. It's not that I have never tried to truly break through to that realm. However, every time I am close to success, this devil in my heart would appear and become the biggest obstacle for me to break through. The reason why I came to this place is to solve some of the questions in my heart. In this process, I will need your help. Can the doubts in your heart be solved after you reach the 6th floor of the Fire Soul Tower? Ning Fan asked. At this moment, he finally understood Tu Huang's purpose. He could not help but feel relieved. Since there was always a question in one's heart, it would more or less increase one's vigilance. Perhaps, Tu Huang also had the same feeling as Tu Huang. I don't know. I don't know if I can completely solve the doubts in my heart this time. However, there should be a part of the answer at the bottom of the Fire Soul Tower. As Tu Huang said that, it seemed like Tu Huang did not intend to talk about it in detail anymore. Thus, Ning Fan sensibly led the topic back to Sha Bai Lu. According to Tu Huang, there were 5 great supreme beings in the Great Humble Clan that ordinary people could not remember. The strength of these 5 great supreme beings was even greater than experts like the Radiant Buddha and the Dead Emperor. They were the true peak combat power of the Great Humble Clan. As for who the 5 great supreme beings were, Tu Huang did not go into detail. He only mentioned Supreme Being Niu Gui. According to Ning Fan's speculation, this Supreme Being Niu Gui was most likely the old man Niu who gave Old Wu a hard time. As for the last of the 5 great supreme beings, even though Tu Huang did not mention his name, he described the abilities of this supreme being. It was said that the strongest power in this supreme being's body was desolation. The reason why the Dead Emperor was able to become the strongest of the 3 flames was because he had comprehended a trace of the power of desolation. Using it, he created a unique technique that allowed him to dominate the 3 flames. The ability that the Dead Emperor created was called the Blood God Reincarnation Technique. After successfully cultivating this technique, the Dead Emperor could be reborn in another place with the help of a medium every time he dies. To any opponent, an opponent that they could not kill no matter how hard they tried was undoubtedly a troublesome and terrifying opponent. However, the Blood God Reincarnation Technique could not be used limitlessly. This technique required a medium. The medium must be the soul of a direct blood relative that had been refined using a special secret technique. Each time a blood relative's soul was resurrected, it would consume the soul of a blood relative. It was highly possible that Sha Bai Lu had used the Blood God Reincarnation Technique to resurrect in another place. Rumor has it that Sha Bai Lu had killed his own son. The reason why his primordial spirit would change its appearance to that of a child right before it dissipated was probably because Sha Bai Lu had used up the soul of his son in his body to resurrect. The resurrection of the Blood God Reincarnation Technique requires 7 days to be completed. During the process of resurrection, the chi of the caster will completely disappear and no longer exist in this world. Only after 7 days will he truly resurrect. Normally, the range of resurrection wouldn't be too far away from the place where he died. However, because of the convenience of having his chi disappear, the place where Sha Bai Lu resurrected is not far away from here. Currently, he has no form and no presence or thought. It's as difficult as ascending the heavens for us to find him. Only when he truly resurrects 7 days later and his chi recovers can we sense his location. Ning Fan's eyes turned grim. No wonder Sha Bai Lu said that he would come back after 7 days before he died. It turns out that there's a time limit of 7 days for resurrection. In other words, after Sha Bailu completes his resurrection, he will come after me again. He's really a pestering fly. Forget it. So what if Sha Bailu can resurrect? Even if he comes back again, he will just be sending himself to death. With your strength, will you still be afraid of Sha Bailu? Hurry up and head to the 6th floor of the Fire Soul Tower. Accomplishing my goal of this trip is the most important thing. Tu Huang said impatiently. Because of Sha Bailu, she seemed to have wasted quite a lot of time. I'm not afraid. It's just that I'm a little annoyed by being pestered. Ning Fan found quite a number of storage pouches from the ruins. Other than Sha Bailu's own storage pouch, the rest belonged to the participants who were killed by Sha Bailu. Sha Bailu's storage pouch made Ning Fan speechless. It actually did not contain many useful pills or magic treasures. Instead, it was filled with human skulls. There were men and women, young and old. Some of them were intact, some of them were rotten, and some of them were only left with their skulls. It seems like Sha Bailu has a hobby of collecting such things. Hee hee. What a weird hobby. Naturally, Ning Fan threw away all the heads that he had a wicked sense of humor. Other than that, the only useful thing in Sha Bailu's storage pouch was Sha Bailu's map for the illusory test. After entering the 1st floor of the Fire Soul Tower, each tribe would form a group of 3 and they would be teleported randomly. The starting point of Sha Bailu entering the tower was very far away from the illusory bamboo forest where Ning Fan first started. They were separated by 1,000 li. However, Sha Bailu still managed to find his way here step by step. Even though he did not care about the result of the illusory test, he had unknowingly lit up the map of 1,000 li. Now that Ning Fan had obtained the map, he only needed to cast a trace of devil flame to burn the map. Instantly, the area that Sha Bailu had lit up was in his possession. On his map, it was not just the area within 100 li of the illusory bamboo forest that was lit up. Even the area that Sha Bailu had passed through was lit up as well. The storage pouches of the other participants also contained 3 maps. However, due to the short period of time they spent in the tower, they could only explore 1 to 200 li of the surrounding area. Moreover, there were still many overlapping areas. These 3 maps were destroyed by Ning Fan as well. Thus, he took away the other participants' marks for the illusory test. In this way, even though Ning Fan had spent a lot of time in the illusory bamboo forest, he had already lit up 1,200 li of the map. If converted into points, he would get more than 2,400 points. If you really care about the results of the illusory test, you should follow me to the bottom of the 6th floor of the tower as soon as possible. Over there, lighting up 1 li of the map will get you 64 points. 1,200 li of the map will be more than 700,000 points. It's much faster than you earning points on the 1st floor of the Fire Soul Tower. You can easily get the 1st place in the illusory test. Tu Huang said impatiently. Time. Ning Fan had wasted a lot of time picking up these storage pouches. I know you're in a hurry. But I'm sorry. It seems like I still need to take up some of your time. Ning Fan smiled helplessly. He sat cross-legged on the ground and began to refine the power of the medicine soul stone. The medicinal power in the territory of the Great Humble Clan was extremely strong. If one's medicine soul was not strong enough, they would need to absorb the power of the medicine soul stone from time to time in order to survive in this place. Now, he had to replenish some medicine soul stones. Troublesome. This is really troublesome. It seems like it's necessary for me to improve the level of your medicine soul. Otherwise, it will take a lot more time to get to the 6th floor if you keep walking and stopping like this. Tu Huang took Ning Fan's map and studied it carefully. It seemed like he was trying to find the places that Ning Fan's medicine soul could level up along the way. Not long after, Ning Fan completed the refinement. He stood up and told Tu Huang that he had already absorbed enough medicinal power from the medicine soul stones. They could continue their journey now. Tu Huang's expression immediately became a little unnatural. It seemed like he was a little reluctant to be carried by Ning Fan and wanted Ning Fan to carry her on his back. "I'll carry you then. After all, I can still get pointers from Tu Huang regarding illusion techniques along the way." It's not a bad deal for Ning Fan. As for Tu Huang, he obviously wanted to go straight to the entrance of the second floor. However, he still suppressed his patience and took a few detours. His goal was to visit the other 3 ominous places on the first floor of the Fire Soul Tower. The ominous places of the Fire Soul Tower usually contained good items. If Ning Fan could use those items to increase his strength, it would also increase the success rate of his business on the 6th floor. Other than the illusory bamboo forest, there were 3 other ominous places on the first floor. They were the Rising Tower, the 1,000-feet cliff and the White Horse Ice River. Among them, there were hundreds of 10th and 11th Nirvana magic treasures sealed in the depths of the Rising Tower illusion technique. On the 1,000-feet cliff, there was an innate spiritual tree that had been dead for many years. None of these items were of great use. It made Tu Huang sigh continuously and regretted taking these detours. Luckily, he managed to obtain a stock of 8 million years old white dragon coral at the bottom of the White Horse Ice River. This small piece of white dragon coral could actually greatly improve the medicine soul power of a 9th revolution alchemist. Ning Fan's first reaction was to keep this stock of white dragon coral for Ouyang Nuan to consume. Unfortunately, Tu Huang forced Ning Fan to consume it immediately in order to improve the power of his medicine soul as soon as possible. After all, if Ning Fan's medicine soul power was improved, she would be able to travel faster. Besides, when Ning Fan is doing his business on the 6th floor, he must remain still for a few days. Thus, he would not have the chance to consume the medicine soul stone. Therefore, Tu Huang's plan was to directly raise the level of Ning Fan's medicine soul to the 9th revolution before entering the 6th floor. As long as the level of Ning Fan's medicine soul reaches such a high level, he would no longer need to consume medicine soul stones to survive even though he was an outsider. He could totally adapt to the domineering medicine chi of the despicable clan by relying on the strength of his medicine soul. To ordinary people, wanting to advance their medicine soul to the 9th revolution from the 7th revolution in a short period of time was just wishful thinking. Fortunately, Tu Huang was extremely familiar with this Fire Soul Tower. He knew that there were many heaven-defying items in this place which were enough to make such an extravagant hope a reality. Of course, those heaven-defying items were definitely not easy to obtain. However, these small difficulties were not a problem for her since this was the most important matter of her trip. She would guide Ning Fan to solve them one by one. A stock of white dragon coral did not make the level of Ning Fan's medicine soul directly break through to the peak 7th revolution. There was still some distance between it and the peak 7th revolution. This made Ning Fan feel that it was a pity. With his medicine soul, he could sense some of the characteristics of this white dragon coral. This item needed to be refined slowly in order to fully absorb its medicinal power. Thus, he could not be too hasty. If he acts in an overbearing manner, he would lose most of its medicinal power. If he is given a few months to slowly refine this white dragon coral, he was confident that he could fully absorb its medicinal power and attain the peak 7th revolution medicine soul in one go. Obviously, it was impossible for Tu Huang to give Ning Fan so much time to dawdle. To her, wasting medicinal power was not a big deal. There were still a lot of good items in front of her. There was nothing more precious than her time. After he finished refining the white dragon coral, Ning Fan carried Tu Huang on his back and sprinted in the first floor, heading straight to the entrance of the second floor that was indicated on the map. On the second day, Ning Fan and Tu Huang arrived at the second floor. On the 6th day, Ning Fan and Tu Huang entered the third floor. The two of them had also explored the ominous land of the second floor. After obtaining a few more spiritual items, the power of Ning Fan's medicine soul completely broke through to the peak 7th revolution. Now, he was just a step away from breaking through to the 8th revolution. Of course, the benefits he obtained were far from just the growth of his medicine soul. Learning the knowledge of illusion techniques was the greatest benefit. There were dangerous illusion techniques everywhere in the Fire Soul Tower. Every time Ning Fan encountered an illusion technique, Tu Huang would briefly explain it to him. First, he explained the basic knowledge of illusion techniques and explained the transformation of each illusion technique in detail. Ning Fan's innate talent in illusion techniques was extremely high. What he lacked was just the foundation. Like a sponge, he absorbed the knowledge that Tu Huang imparted to him. Many concepts that he could not understand in the past gradually became clear in his mind. The Tao of illusion techniques lay in the transformation of illusion and reality. Reality and illusion only required a single thought. However, how to use this thought was the key. Attack the illusion while concealing the reality. Defend the reality while laying out the illusion. Destroy the reality while retaining the illusion. Void the reality without the reality. Ning Fan did not know that a simple illusion technique actually contains so many tricks. It was as if a brand new door of illusion techniques had been opened before his eyes. Not only did illusion techniques require a good grasp of reality and illusion, but they also needed to separate life and death illusions. After learning all these, Ning Fan recalled the low-grade supreme profound illusion technique in the illusory bamboo forest. He felt that his mind had already grasped the general idea. If he was given another chance to enter the illusory bamboo forest, he was confident that he could enter it. At the same time, Ning Fan also gained a new understanding of the usage of the dark yin-yang technique. He also had the intention to perfect the dark illusion technique that he created after achieving the grand completion of his Tao elephant in the past. The dark illusion technique that he comprehended from the demonized Dark Knight Tao elephant could be used as a trump card. However, after Ning Fan comprehended this illusion technique, he could not perfect it. He always felt that this technique was lacking something. He could occasionally use it, but it was hard for him to put it to good use. Now, when he looked at this dark illusion technique again, Ning Fan became more confident. As long as he was given enough time, he was confident that he could perfect this illusion technique into a truly terrifying ability using the knowledge of illusion techniques that Tu Huang imparted to him. Of course, his current focus was not on perfecting the dark illusion technique. Tu Huang would not give him the time to do such a thing. The seventh day had finally arrived. Ning Fan knew that at this time, Sha Bailu had most likely completed his resurrection. However, it was impossible for him to stop because of Sha Bailu. Even though Sha Bailu's ability was strange, it was not enough to make him fearful. On the 11th day, Ning Fan carried Tu Huang on his back and arrived at the entrance to the 4th floor. Just as he was about to enter, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. The sky behind him was suddenly shrouded by blood-red killing intent. Moreover, a ray of blood-red light with the aura of a zero-tribulation immortal venerate whizzed towards him. It was none other than Sha Bailu. However, it was different from before. The current Sha Bailu was no longer at the peak thought fragmentation realm. Instead, he was a true newly advanced immortal venerate. Compared to Sha Bailu in the past, his aura after breaking through to the immortal venerate realm was more than twice as strong. Ning Fan. In order to kill you, I did not hesitate to give up my plan to perfectly attain the immortal venerate realm and completely broke through the bottleneck of my cultivation base that I had been suppressing for many years. I'm no longer as weak as I was the first time you killed me. This time, I'll definitely kill you. Chapter 1041. Sha Bailu was far from the strongest enemy Ning Fan had encountered in his life. However, he was definitely the most troublesome one. This time, Ning Fan naturally did not plan to use Sha Bailu to test his strength. After putting down Tu Huang who was on his back, he directly took out the illusion Night Pearl and released his full power. The sky rumbled incessantly. Amidst the rumbling sounds, a large area of the spatial crack collapsed, forming a huge hole that looked like the mouth of a peerless ferocious beast. A foul stench kept coming out from the hole. Then, a bloody figure walked out from the hole with a foul stench. His hideous laughter reverberated throughout the entire 3rd floor of the Fire Soul Tower. Occasionally, some tribes who had entered the 3rd floor were caught off guard. Their heads were dizzy from the laughter. All of them were instantly overwhelmed with shock. With a chi sound, Sha Bailu landed on the ground with a foul stench, creating a huge pit with a diameter of 100 zhang. He walked out of the pit step by step and approached Ning Fan. His body was trembling uncontrollably. This time, when he faced Ning Fan, he no longer had the same fear as before. Instead, there was only excitement. There was only madness. There was no longer any need to talk to him. Sha Bailu raised his finger and pointed at the sky. Immediately, large patches of bloody light spread out from the hole in the sky, forming huge flowers of blood that were extremely dazzling to the eyes. 1 flower, 2 flowers, 3 flowers, in the end, there were actually 17 blood flowers. At first, the blood flowers were just buds. As they grew, the petals separated and revealed their pistils. At the center of the pistils of each flower, there was an illusory soul. The soul of the first flower was a 6 to 7 years old little girl. The soul of the second flower was a gentle and beautiful lady. The soul of the third flower was a young man. The soul of the fourth flower was an old lady. The fifth flower, the sixth flower, the seventh flower, with Ning Fan's sharp senses towards qi, he could easily sense that each of the souls on these blood-red flowers was related to Sha Bailu by blood. All of them were the souls of his loved ones. As Sha Bailu pressed his 5 fingers towards the sky, the face of the little girl's soul on the first blood flower showed pain and tears. "Father, don't kill me." "Don't," however, these words couldn't stop Sha Bailu's crazy actions. With a bang, the little girl's soul exploded into a bloody mist at the center of the blood flower. Then, the second flower, the third flower, the fourth flower. The souls in the center of the giant flowers cried and exploded one after another. Soon, there was no longer any sound of crying from the 17 blood flowers. Subsequently, all the blood flowers began to absorb the heaven-earth essence qi crazily. As the blood flowers absorbed the heaven-earth essence qi, Sha Bailu's aura rose rapidly from the level of a newly advanced immortal venerable. The first tribulation of eternity. The second eternal tribulation. Eternal third tribulation. In the blink of an eye, Sha Bailu's aura rose to the peak of the third tribulation immortal king realm. 17 blood flowers descended from the sky and shrunk into 17 fist-sized blood flowers, floating around Sha Bailu. Using a secret technique to temporarily raise my cultivation, huh? But this secret technique seems to be able to reduce a lot of trouble for me. Ning Fan's expression was calm. He did not stop Sha Bailu from destroying his soul to raise his strength. He was also not affected by the sudden increase of Sha Bailu's cultivation base. With his second-level heaven realm eyesight, he could vaguely see that each of these souls was enough to allow Sha Bailu to be reborn once. If he uses the blood god reincarnation technique separately, Sha Bailu could die 17 times and be reborn 17 times. There would be no end to him and it would be extremely troublesome. Compared to this kind of infinite resurrection, Ning Fan did not mind destroying his own soul to increase his cultivation base. It would be better if he had fewer soul mediums for the blood god reincarnation technique. In this way, he could avoid having to kill Sha Bailu 17 times. The blood god reincarnation technique can not only be used for rebirth but also forcibly raise the user's cultivation base to an unimaginable level within a short period of time. Don't be careless. Don't force yourself. This kind of secret technique can only last for a limited time. If we really can't defeat him, we might as well temporarily retreat and hide in the 4th floor. Almost every step in the 4th floor is filled with illusion techniques. We can use the illusion techniques there to delay him until his secret technique ends and then kill him. Tu Huang secretly transmitted his voice to Ning Fan. It was also Tu Huang's fault for knowing too little about Ning Fan. In his opinion, even if Ning Fan regained his full strength, he might not necessarily be a match for Sha Bailu. To an ancient monster, the third tribulation was a huge dividing line. After crossing this step, one would become an immortal king realm expert. After crossing the third tribulation, one would become an immortal venerable realm expert. It was extremely rare for an immortal venerable realm expert to defeat an immortal king, especially when Sha Bai Lu cultivated the dead emperor's secret technique. His combat power was probably higher than his cultivation base. The combat power that Sha Bai Lu, who was at the peak of the third tribulation of the Eternal Era, could probably reach the level of a fourth tribulation immortal king. It was too risky for Ning Fan to fight against such a powerful Sha Bai Lu. In order to be safe, it was better for him to hide for the time being. Hide for the time being, huh? Alright then. Miss, you will go first and enter the fourth floor through this entrance. When I use my full strength later, it won't be difficult to kill Sha Bai Lu. However, I'm afraid that I might accidentally injure you. In order to be safe, it's better for you to hide for the time being. It won't be difficult to kill him. Hee hee. What an arrogant tone. But I like it. Since that's the case, I will wait for you on the fourth floor. Tu Huang looked at Ning Fan deeply. When he saw that Ning Fan was really calm and composed from the bottom of his heart, he thought that he really had a way to deal with Sha Bai Lu, whose cultivation base had skyrocketed. At that moment, he was no longer worried. She was not a person who would drag her feet. She knew that she would not be able to help Ning Fan by staying here since she could not use her full strength. Thus, she directly stepped onto the stairs leading to the fourth floor. After taking a few steps, she could no longer see Ning Fan's figure. This scene deeply stimulated Sha Bai Lu, who had fallen into a state of madness. He did not hesitate to give up his original intention of attaining the immortal venerable realm perfectly and forcefully raised his cultivation base to the immortal venerable realm in this fire soul tower. He did not hesitate to use up the souls of 17 of his loved ones in one go and lost 17 chances to be resurrected. All of this was just for the sake of fighting Ning Fan. However, his powerful aura that could shake heaven and earth could not even cause Ning Fan's expression to change a little. What made Sha Bai Lu even more furious was that Ning Fan actually talked to Tu Huang as if there was no one else around and asked him to leave in advance. He even arrogantly claimed that it would not be difficult to kill him. What a joke! He was Sha Bai Lu. He was Sha Bai Lu, who temporarily possessed the peak third tribulation realm cultivation base. The current him would even dare to fight a fourth tribulation immortal king. Who does Ning Fan think he is? He is just an external cultivator. Why would it not be difficult to kill him? Roar! Sha Bai Lu let out the most furious roar in his life. Terrifying sound waves immediately began to spread in all directions, destroying everything. This kind of sound waves was enough to make all immortal venerables who were below the immortal king realm hold their heads in pain. However, when it reached Ning Fan, it was just like a flower dropping on the surface of the water. A layer of faint golden light screen easily blocked all the sound waves that attempted to attack Ning Fan. Sha Bai Lu stopped roaring. His eyes turned grim. With a wave of his hand, the 17 blood flowers that were hovering around him suddenly withered and their petals began to fall to the ground along with the wind. The surface of these petals was covered with a layer of strange blood marks. Besides that, there was a faint chi of Dao Law that was hidden within. Each of the petals was as thin as a piece of paper. However, it gave off an incomparably sharp feeling. 10 petals, 100 petals, 1,000 petals. Innumerable petals seemed to have turned into incomparably sharp blades. The direction of the wind suddenly changed. Millions of flower blades that were as thin as paper blotted out the sky and covered the earth. Like a wave of flowers, they slashed and drowned Ning Fan. This time, Sha Bai Lu no longer had the intention to underestimate Ning Fan. All of his trump cards and abilities were unleashed at the first moment. With his current peak third tribulation immortal king realm cultivation base, Sha Bai Lu was confident that he could kill any immortal venerables in a single move if he used his trump cards and abilities. When he saw Ning Fan being drowned by the wave of flower blades, Sha Bai Lu felt relaxed as if he had finally gotten rid of a formidable enemy. He was convinced that Ning Fan would be killed by him in a single move. However, the result of this attack was far beyond Sha Bai Lu's expectations. Ning Fan's body was covered in a layer of golden light that was tens of zhang. He walked leisurely among the wave of flower blades. The sound of the flower blades slashing continuously resounded. However, all of them had landed on Ning Fan's protective golden light. That protective golden light was too strong. In just a short span of 10 breaths, it had withstood hundreds of millions of slashes from the flower blades. However, these hundreds of millions of slashes actually could not leave even the slightest bit of damage on the protective golden light, let alone breaking it and injuring Ning Fan who was under it. Ning Fan was completely unscathed. What level of defense is this? How can there be such a terrifying defense in this world? Sha Bailu gritted his teeth. Could it be that Ning Fan had used more than 5 types of Dao laws in the previous battle and that wasn't his trump card? Could it be that this impeccable protective golden light is the strongest trump card of this external cultivator? Then, let me break Ning Fan's tortoise shell. Ancient extreme impact. Sha Bailu stomped on the ground. His body exploded, turning into a blood-red shadow. In an instant, he traversed countless violent distances and violently crashed against Ning Fan's protective golden light. Time seemed to have come to a standstill. However, at the next moment, a terrifying impact spread across the entire 3rd floor. The ground of the entire 3rd floor collapsed at a crazy rate. The soil was reduced by 10 zhang. Such a terrifying impact could be considered as one of Sha Bailu's ultimate techniques. However, when it collided against Ning Fan's protective golden light, it still could not leave even the slightest crack on it. It was actually so hard. Break for me. 10 strikes. 100 strikes. 1,000 strikes. Sha Bailu seemed to have really gone mad. He attacked Ning Fan's protective golden light recklessly. His body was surrounded by a series of afterimages. In just a short span of 10 breaths, he had already crashed against Ning Fan more than 1,000 times. However, all of his efforts were in vain. Sha Bailu's forehead was full of sweat and blood. With a hint of shock, he stared at Ning Fan who was standing calmly within the protective golden light. Ning Fan was not injured at all. Similarly, his protective golden light was not damaged at all. On the contrary, Sha Bailu who initiated the attack had suffered some injuries due to the accumulated rebounding force. There was actually an ancient immortal venerate in this world who could raise his defensive power to such a level. This was not the defensive power that an ancient immortal venerate should have. Not even an immortal king could possess it. Let alone him, even a real 4th tribulation immortal king would not be able to break this defense. Even a peak 5th tribulation immortal king might not be able to succeed. I've given up everything and used all my strength but I can't even touch the corner of his robes. Sha Bailu's heart wavered for the first time in his life. He had lived for a lifetime and he had never been defeated by someone at the same level as him. Even when he fought against someone with a higher cultivation base, he rarely lost. When he was defeated by Ning Fan previously, he did not waver because he was only using his peak thought fragmentation realm cultivation base at that time. It was not an injustice for him to be defeated by Ning Fan who was infinitely close to a 2nd tribulation immortal venerable. However, this time, he had clearly increased his cultivation base to a level that was close to a 4th tribulation immortal king. He had clearly suppressed Ning Fan in terms of cultivation base. However, he could not even touch the corner of Ning Fan's robes. He could not even move Ning Fan's expression. How is this possible? You've been attacking for a long time. Now, it's my turn. Ning Fan's hand, which was hidden in his sleeve, was faintly flickering with the golden light of the great momentum. Under Sha Bailu's storm-like attacks, he did not just stand still and do nothing. In fact, he had secretly controlled the great momentum and set up layers of restrictions in the surrounding heaven and earth. After doing all these, Ning Fan spoke. With a flip of his hand, he took out a purified bottle that emitted the chi of waves. At the moment when the purified bottle appeared, an unprecedented sense of danger enveloped Sha Bailu's heart. If what Ning Fan displayed before was an unparalleled defense, then at this moment, what Ning Fan wanted to display was his terrifying killing power. This purified bottle was actually a mid-grade innate magic treasure. Not good. At the moment when Ning Fan raised the purified bottle, the sense of danger in Sha Bailu's heart rose to its peak. Sha Bailu gritted his teeth. Without saying a word, he turned around and tried to run away. Because he cultivated the blood god reincarnation technique, Sha Bailu could be reborn after death. That was why he was not afraid of death. Instead, he enjoyed the kind of life and death battle. However, it did not mean that he was really not afraid of death. In addition to the 17 souls he had used up this time, he had already used up 18 souls in total. There were only 3 souls left in his body. In other words, before he could replenish the souls of his closest relatives, he could only be reborn 3 times. If he had more rebirths, he did not mind dying again and giving Ning Fan a chance to retaliate before his death. However, if he only had 3 lives left, he would need to save the number of deaths. Thus, facing the invincible Ning Fan, Sha Bailu had no choice but to temporarily suppress his desire to kill and chose to run away. Soon, however, his expression darkened. It was because the surrounding heaven and earth were densely covered with thousands of layers of seals. With his cultivation base, it was not difficult for him to break these seals. However, it was obviously not something that he could do in a short period of time. Ning Fan's attack arrived in the blink of an eye. It was already impossible for him to run away. With my command, I will flood this world. As Ning Fan activated his magic power, the 3 water droplet patterns on the water drowning world bottle began to light up slowly. The first water droplet pattern began to light up from 1/3 of its original position. Eventually, it lit up a complete water droplet pattern. To Ning Fan, who had a great improvement in his cultivation base and activated his protective golden light, lighting up a water droplet pattern no longer meant that his arm would be destroyed by the backlash of the water drowning world bottle. Even though his arm was in extreme pain and was gradually getting injured, the injuries were not serious. Lighting up 1 water droplet was Ning Fan's current limit. In order to light up the second water droplet, he would need to unleash the complete form of the God Exterminating Shield. Under Sha Bailu's incredulous gaze, the protective golden light around Ning Fan's body suddenly expanded and rose to the sky, turning into a gigantic golden skeleton giant that enveloped Ning Fan within it. The golden skeleton's body was burning with raging flames. Within the flames, flesh, a body, and a set of armor gradually appeared. A complete God Exterminating Giant appeared in front of Sha Bailu while holding a giant shield. This God Exterminating Giant was merely 100 zhang tall. However, the aura force that it gave Sha Bailu was unprecedentedly huge. It was a feeling of indestructibility. It was as if even an immortal emperor would not be able to break through this giant's defense. Sha Bailu felt as if he had seen a miracle. His entire being was stunned. There was actually such a terrifying defense on a mere immortal venerable in this world. After a moment of absent-mindedness, Sha Bailu realized that the sky above his head had turned into a sea. He remembered that when he was young, he had once read a description in an absurd ancient book: the sea was the sky that was turned upside down. Looking at this scene, he could not help but think of this sentence. The sky had turned into the sea that was turned upside down. Waves were roaring in the sky towards the ground, and the one who controlled all of these waves was Ning Fan. At the next moment, Ning Fan, who had activated his God Exterminating Giant mode, lit up the second pattern on the water drowning world bottle. Then, the sea and the sky began to fall towards the ground madly. First, a drop of seawater hit Sha Bailu's face. A drop of seawater. It was just a drop of seawater. However, Sha Bailu felt as if he was hit by an entire mountain. The water droplet glided past him and left a wound on the side of his face. The power of a single drop of water was so great. Then, millions of water droplets converged to form a wave that drowned him. It was as if the weight of the entire starry sky was pressing down on Sha Bailu's body. In just a few seconds, his physical body crumbled under the waves and he let out a miserable shriek. It was not just Sha Bailu. At this moment, the terrain of the entire third floor of the Fire Soul Tower had completely changed. Not a single inch of land could be seen. Everything that could be seen was a surging sea. Everything was submerged under the waves. Only Ning Fan slowly undid his god-exterminating giant mode. He stood on top of a gigantic bottle and floated in the middle of the waves, looking at everything around him indifferently. The gigantic bottle was bobbing up and down on the waves while Ning Fan was calculating something in his mind. Suddenly, he got a result. He pressed his 5 fingers forward and the heavy waves immediately split into 2. An unconscious blood-red primordial spirit appeared where the waves were. It was none other than Sha Bailu's primordial spirit. However, this time, Sha Bailu's primordial spirit did not die. This was the result of Ning Fan holding back after he calculated it. The reason why Ning Fan spared Sha Bailu's life was, of course, not because he was kind-hearted. Instead, he reckoned that there must be other souls in Sha Bailu's body. If he kills them, they can still be reborn. Therefore, it was better to spare his life for now and get rid of the souls of his closest kin first before dealing with his primordial spirit. That way, he would be able to solve the problem once and for all. It was a pity that Sha Bailu had offended Ning Fan of all people. One should know that even when Ning Fan went to the Water Curtain planet to test the power of the bottle that drowned the entire world on Immortal King Water Curtain, he only managed to activate the power of 1 water droplet. The power of 1 water droplet had nearly drowned Immortal King Water Curtain to death. That battle had probably left a shadow in her heart. This time, however, Ning Fan was almost brutal. After activating the power of 2 water droplets, not many 4th Tribulation or 5th Tribulation Immortal Kings would be able to survive such a flood, let alone Sha Bailu. Besides, this kind of attack was a full-range attack within a world. There was no way to evade it. It was especially effective against enemies who were in groups. Of course, the biggest drawback of the bottle was that the area it affected was too large. It would not be able to differentiate between friend and foe. It would kill everyone within that area. Because of this reason, Ning Fan asked Tu Huang to leave first. Otherwise, even if he was the owner of the bottle, he would not have the confidence to save Tu Huang from the waves of the world. At the moment Ning Fan captured Sha Bailu's primordial spirit, Great Sovereign Lu Tua, who was meditating with his eyes closed and wearing a faint smile on his face, suddenly sensed something. He opened his eyes, which were filled with ferocious and bloodshot. That evil disciple of his actually failed once again under the situation where he exerted his full strength. Chapter 1042. Even though the destructive power of the water-drowning realm bottle was massive, it had also used up 90% of his magic power. The consumption was extremely terrifying. Ning Fan consumed a few pills and adjusted his breathing for a while to recover some of his magic power. Then, he activated the water-drowning realm bottle again, withdrawing the waves that flooded the entire 3rd floor back into the bottle. The 3rd floor that was ravaged by the water-drowning realm bottle was already beyond recognition. All the locations marked on the map were destroyed by the waves, leaving only ruins. There were also a few participants who entered the 3rd floor who were killed by the water-drowning realm bottle's indiscriminate attack. Regarding this matter, Ning Fan could only apologize. When cultivators with great abilities fight, the power of their abilities would usually be too great and affect too many people. Fortunately, Ning Fan did not have a good impression of these participants who enjoyed humiliating the ancient devils. Thus, he did not feel guilty about accidentally injuring them. After keeping the water-drowning realm bottle, Ning Fan began to deal with Sha Bailu's primordial spirit. Although this primordial spirit was currently unconscious and on the verge of death, it still retained a trace of vitality which prevented it from coming back to life. This was the result of Ning Fan's careful calculations. Ning Fan first carefully examined Sha Bailu's primordial spirit and then extracted 3 illusory souls from it. These 3 souls belonged to Sha Bailu's close relatives. As soon as they were extracted, they wailed in agony and were tortured by Sha Bailu's blood god reincarnation technique. They were souls that had been dead for countless years and could no longer come back to life. If Ning Fan did not appear, they would have been used by Sha Bailu and their souls would have dispersed, losing the chance to reincarnate. From the looks of it, the so-called blood god reincarnation technique was just taking away the chance of reincarnation from his relatives in order to give himself an extra life. Ning Fan knew that no matter what happens, he would not have the heart to kill his relatives. From this point of view, his ruthlessness was not comparable to Sha Baolu. He also did not want to become Sha Baolu. After a moment of silence, Ning Fan flicked his finger and the three souls slowly disappeared from heaven and earth, returning to samsara. After dealing with these three souls, Ning Fan continued to kill Sha Baolu. Sha Baolu would no longer be able to come back to life. He was not in a hurry to kill Sha Baolu. Instead, he was rather interested in some of the things that Sha Baolu possessed. After planting layers of restrictive spells on his primordial spirit, he directly searched his soul and memories. He used the most overbearing and damaging method to search his memories. He was too lazy to use the reverse spirit technique at all. As such, Sha Baolu's sea of consciousness shattered and he became an idiot with low intelligence. Even if he could be revived, he would only be an idiot again. Of course, he did not have the chance to be reborn again. After searching through the memories of Sha Baolu, Ning Fan knitted his brows for a long time. The reason why he was interested in Bailu's memories was naturally not because he had personally killed Bailu to prove his Tao, but because of something else. Sha Bailu's escaping technique was very profound. It could actually disregard the forbidden power of the sky and fly. This was what Ning Fan was concerned about. This technique was definitely a great technique that could shake the world. Buddha Void Escape. In Sha Baolu's memories, Ning Fan found this name. However, he could not find any cultivation method of the Buddha Void Escape art. Instead, he saw such a memory. In the memory, Sha Baolu was kowtowing to a gigantic statue on a burning continent. Then, the gigantic statue flashed with light and an illusory figure of a human appeared. It seemed like an immortal emperor had used a descending technique and manifested himself through the statue. That immortal emperor had an ordinary appearance. If he was thrown into a crowd, he would be the kind of existence that would not attract any attention. That immortal emperor's eyes always carried a kind smile. However, in the end, he taught Sha Baolu the Buddha Void Escape art, blood god reincarnation technique and a series of other ultimate techniques. He also planted a technique in Sha Baolu's sea of consciousness. Once someone searches his soul, all the cultivation methods in Sha Baolu's memories would collapse and disappear. Ning Fan thought to himself. As expected. It was because of the existence of the collapsing technique that he could not find the cultivation method of the Buddha Void Escape art from Sha Baolu's memories. As for the immortal emperor who taught Sha Baolu the technique, even though Ning Fan had never met him before, he could vaguely guess his identity. He was most likely the creator of the blood god reincarnation technique, the Lord of Spatial Flame, Death Emperor. According to these memories, not only did Sha Baolu become the disciple of Great Emperor Lu Tua, but he was also the disciple of the Void Flame Death Emperor. It made sense. Since Sha Baolu was able to learn the Void Flame Death Emperor's secret technique, it was impossible for Sha Baolu to be unrelated to the Void Flame Death Emperor. He should have thought of this. Thinking of this, Ning Fan immediately frowned. I wonder if I have angered that Spatial Flame Death Emperor by killing Sha Baolu this time. Then, Ning Fan recalled the golden lotus root of fortune from before. Many materials were needed to create spiritual puppets. One of the materials was the primordial spirit of a cultivator. Even though Sha Baolu's primordial spirit had lost its spiritual intelligence, it could still be used as a material and a blood sacrifice puppet. As a human, Ning Fan did not like the strong desire to kill that Sha Baolu had. However, it would be a different story if he were to be used as a spiritual puppet. Ning Fan was very willing to have a quasi-emperor realm spiritual puppet that was similar to a killing machine. It could charge forward fearlessly and kill all the enemies that stand in its way. From this point of view, Sha Baolu's ferocious primordial spirit was the best material to create a spiritual puppet. Even the primordial spirits of immortal kings might not be as murderous as Sha Baolu. Thus, the effect of creating a spiritual puppet would naturally be much weaker, since that's the case. I'll keep this primordial spirit for the time being. I'll use it to create a spiritual puppet in the future. As for whether it would anger the spatial flame Death Emperor by using Sha Bai Lu to create a spiritual puppet, Ning Fan did not care too much about it. After sealing Sha Bai Lu's primordial spirit in a special jade box, Ning Fan stepped into the passage of the 4th floor. At the end of the passage was the sky of the 4th floor. Tu Huang was leaning against an old locust tree with his arms crossed in front of his chest. He was waiting with a frown. Even though she said that she was not worried about Ning Fan's life or death, there was still a hint of worry on her face. Of course, no one knew whether her worry was because of her concern for her companion or because of her plan for this trip. All in all, Tu Huang was very satisfied when he saw that Ning Fan had returned safely. His eyes scanned across Ning Fan's body indifferently. When he saw that there was no baleful qi surrounding Ning Fan's body that could kill immortal Venerate Gu, he asked, "Did you let that brat escape again?" Obviously, he thought that Ning Fan did not really kill Sha Bai Lu. "No. I didn't let him escape." In other words, you want to use his primordial spirit to create a spiritual puppet? Tu Huang was very intelligent. As soon as he heard that Ning Fan had captured Sha Bai Lu but did not kill him, he immediately guessed what Ning Fan had done. Yes. Sha Bai Lu's primordial spirit has a strong murderous nature. It's the best material to create a spiritual puppet of slaughter. It would be too wasteful to kill him directly. Ning Fan did not have the intention to hide Tu Huang's identity. At this moment, even though he was still a little vigilant against the Emperor's Slayer, it was only within the range of vigilance that a normal person would have when interacting with someone. His vigilance was not as serious as it was in the beginning. How should he put it? Even though this woman's cultivation base was high and her killing intent was strong, she seemed to be different from those immortal emperors who were extremely shrewd. It was not that this woman was not shrewd, but the things that she pursued seemed to be different from the other immortal emperors. What the other immortal emperors pursued was nothing more than to survive the heavenly tribulations that they had gone through countless times. Some of them pursued the growth of their cultivation base, the increase of their power, the prosperity of their sects and the spread of their disciples across the galaxies. What this woman was after was not materialistic, but something other than materialistic. She just wanted to find an answer in her heart. Ning Fan felt that he was very similar to Tu Huang. All the other cultivators knew what they were pursuing and what they wanted. As for Ning Fan himself, he actually did not pursue the Tao itself. He desired power. He just hoped that he would have enough power to protect the nest behind him. That was all. If there comes a day when he no longer has any enemies, he might not have the motivation to cultivate the Tao anymore. Instead, he would choose another path. He was willing to live a plain life. He was willing to live a simple life. He was willing to live a simple life. He was willing to work at sunrise and rest at sunset, enjoying every second of peace in his life. He was a member who did not fit in with the cultivation world. Tu Huang seemed to be the same. Even though she was humiliated by the juniors as a little girl, she still kept her promise with Supreme Venerate Ox Ghost and did not do anything to him. She was the only one who did not utter a single word when tens of thousands of people insulted Shin 23. Instead, she quietly wiped the filth off his body. It was very difficult for him to be wary of such a person. It was very difficult. What are you looking at? Is there something dirty on my face? Tu Huang said impatiently as he was annoyed by Ning Fan's stare. It's nothing. Let's continue our journey. Oh. You finally know how precious time is. Very good. I've taken a look at your map. There are quite a lot of good items in the 4th floor. They are enough for you to steadily advance your medicine soul to the 8th revolution. There is absolutely no possibility of failure. Oh. What is it that can actually help me advance to the 8th revolution steadily? Carry me on your back. I will show you the map. On the 13th day, Tu Huang guided Ning Fan to the 4th location of the 12 ominous places in the 4th floor. After breaking the illusion technique, he obtained a jar of ancient medicinal wine. According to Tu Huang, this was a type of medicinal wine unique to the Great Humble clan. Drinking it could improve the cultivation base of a cultivator's medicine soul. According to the age of the medicinal wine, the medicinal effects would also differ greatly. This jar of ancient wine seemed to have reached the age of 10 million years. Not only was its medicinal effects astonishing, but its alcohol strength was also incomparably shocking. Ning Fan, be careful. Don't get drunk. If you get drunk here, I'm afraid you will waste a lot of time. You should know that my time is very precious. Don't worry. I have quite a deep understanding of the Tao of wine. With my current cultivation base, even if my cultivation base is sealed, I can still control whether I get drunk or not. It just takes a single thought, don't make it sound so mysterious. If you want to drink it now. Thus, under Tu Huang's incredulous gaze, Ning Fan gulped down the entire jar of ancient wine in one gulp. Other than his face, which was slightly flushed, no one could tell that he was drunk at all. His actions were still extremely normal. He sat in a lotus position in a natural manner. With the help of Tu Huang's sage will secret treasure, he crazily refined the medicinal power of the medicinal wine. The grade of his medicine soul had also finally advanced to the 8th revolution and was getting closer to the mid-grade of the 8th revolution. Seeing Ning Fan gulping down the entire jar of ancient wine in a single gulp, Tu Huang was indeed a little surprised. One should know that even some immortal emperors would not dare to drink the entire jar of ancient wine when it has reached such an age. They would only dare to take a small sip. Ning Fan, on the other hand, drank the entire jar of wine in a single gulp and his expression was still calm. If this is true, his alcohol tolerance has already surpassed many immortal emperors. Does Ning Fan really have such a high alcohol tolerance? Anyway, Tu Huang did not believe it. He thought to himself, could it be that the seal of the ancient wine is damaged and the medicinal power and alcohol strength have completely dissipated? Otherwise, how could Ning Fan drink an entire jar of ancient wine so easily as if he was drinking water? Tu Huang squatted down and stretched out his slender index finger to wipe the mouth of the jar with a trace of wine. Then, he licked it. Then, she fell to the ground with a thud. Due to her excessive curiosity, she had forgotten that she could not use her cultivation base at the moment. Drinking such a strong wine was no different from courting death. After being drunk for 3 whole days, Tu Huang finally woke up. When he opened his sleepy eyes, the first thing he noticed was that he was still on Ning Fan's back. As for Ning Fan, he had actually been rushing towards his destination while she was asleep. When he asked, he found out that he had actually slept for 3 whole days. Even with his thick skin, he could not help but feel his face turning red. Your alcohol tolerance is really bad. Seeing that Tu Huang had woken up, Ning Fan said speechlessly. Nonsense. If I still have my cultivation base, how could this ancient wine possibly make me drunk? Even if I drink 8 to 10 jars of such ancient wine in a single gulp, there won't be any problem for me. Tu Huang retorted with a red face. I don't believe you. You don't believe me? All right then. After this matter is over, I will look for some high-grade ancient wine and invite you to the blood martial arena to drink to your heart's content. I'll let you witness my alcohol tolerance. Ning Fan's forehead was filled with black lines. In any case, he did not believe that Tu Huang, who was knocked out by a single drop of wine, would have any alcohol tolerance. At most, he was just being stubborn. Tu Huang, who was high and mighty and was almost omnipotent, actually had such a useless side. Ha! How interesting. Tu Huang did not care about what Ning Fan was thinking. She really treated this matter as a major matter and kept it in her heart. She was thinking about where she should go to get some good wine to prove her alcohol tolerance after this matter is over. While she was thinking about these questions, she asked Ning Fan about what happened during the past few days. After she asked, she found out that she had been drunk for 3 whole days. As for Ning Fan, during the time when she was drunk, he carried her on his back as they hurried on their journey. At the same time, he broke the illusion techniques of the dangerous lands along the way and entered them to search for treasures. After Tu Huang was drunk, he naturally did not keep the secret treasure that contained the will of a saint. After Tu Huang woke up, Ning Fan returned the treasure to her. Now that Ning Fan had obtained the knowledge of illusion techniques from Tu Huang, his talent in illusion techniques could finally be fully displayed. The fourth level of the Great Profound Illusion Technique could no longer stop him. Without Tu Huang's guidance, Ning Fan had already gone through a few dangerous lands and obtained quite a lot of good items. The level of his medicine soul had also reached the mid-8th revolution naturally. There were countless 8th revolution pill refinement masters in the four heavens. None of them were considered as powerful figures. However, no matter what, the advancement of his medicine soul was always a good thing. Ning Fan was naturally very happy about it. Of course, he also secretly kept some things for Ouyang Wan. Unfortunately, with Tu Huang's intelligence, how could he not know that Ning Fan would have such a petty scheme? Immediately, he strictly ordered Ning Fan to take out some of his hidden items. Under her supervision, Ning Fan consumed all of them. Naturally, the level of his medicine soul improved significantly towards the high 8th revolution. On the 18th day, Ning Fan and Tu Huang had gone through all the dangerous lands of the 4th level. They were already not far away from the entrance of the 5th level. Currently, with Tu Huang's help, the level of Ning Fan's medicine soul had truly advanced to the high 8th revolution. However, there was one thing that made Tu Huang complain a lot about him. Due to the convenience of having a team map, Ning Fan easily found out from the map that Wu Yan's current location had already reached the entrance of the 5th level. Compared to him who had Tu Huang's guidance and got rid of all the illusions along the way, Wu Yan's speed was much faster. Tut tut tut. Did you see that? A junior who has just experienced an eternal tribulation actually managed to reach the entrance of the 5th level ahead of us. Tell me, isn't your speed during this period of time really slow? Tu Huang complained. We didn't advance in a straight line. Instead, we took many detours. Of course, it's impossible for our speed to be fast. Ning Fan said helplessly. You can use a little more strength and run a little faster. Oh. Interesting. There seems to be some situation ahead. As soon as Tu Huang's voice fell, Ning Fan also spread his spirit sense and scanned the direction of the entrance of the 5th level. Then, he frowned. There were still more than 200 li away from the entrance of the 5th level. However, if he runs at full speed, this distance would not be a problem for him. At this moment, thousands of cultivators gathered at the entrance of the 5th level again. Wu Yan, the members of the Sea Shaman tribe and the illusory Sea tribe were surrounded by thousands of cultivators. The people who surrounded Wu Yan were Shi Dang and Heng Zong. Shi Dang was leading his team while Heng Zong was also leading a large group of people. If one were to count carefully, the experts behind Shi Dang and Heng Zong were definitely not just their teammates. Instead, they were the people of tens of tribes. Under normal circumstances, the participants of the second round of the mausoleum seizing competition would rarely enter the area of the 4th level. However, it did not mean that there were none of them. In the past, when there were immortal venerables who participated in the first round, there would occasionally be some of them who tried to enter the 4th level to explore. Some of them even entered the 5th level. The higher the level, the higher the score. Therefore, those who were strong would constantly explore the depths of the 5th level. Wu Yan wanted to enter the 5th level because she had this intention. The 5th level was extremely dangerous. Even with her immortal venerable cultivation base, she might not be able to protect herself. However, in order to obtain more points in the illusory test, she had no choice but to make such a decision. With the convenience of sharing the map in her team, Wu Yan was very clear about Ning Fan's movements during this period of time. Ning Fan seemed to be very interested in the dangerous places in the first few levels. He had almost stepped into every single one of them. Although the map was lit up quite a lot, the points in the first few levels were not high. Moreover, Ning Fan's activity area in the first few levels did not seem to be too big. Instead, he went straight to the dangerous places in each level with a clear purpose. This made Wu Yan speechless. She finally realized that Ning Fan seemed to be more willing to explore the dangerous places and waste time compared to lighting up the map on the starting point. If her teammates were not good enough, she could only rely on herself. Wu Yan decided to take the risk and enter the 5th level to obtain more points. However, she did not expect that the passage to the 5th level would be blocked by a hexagonal stone door. This hexagonal stone door could not be opened. The only way to enter the 5th level was to destroy it. However, after trying a few times, Wu Yan realized that this stone door was far harder than what she had imagined. Those who were not Second Tribulation Immortal Venerables might not be able to break this hexagonal stone door. What made her happy was that 2 other Immortal Venerables arrived very soon. If they also wanted to enter the 5th level, they could work together to break this hexagonal stone door and enter together. However, what infuriated her was that these 2 Immortal Venerables did not come for the sake of entering the 5th level. It was impossible for them to work together. These 2 people actually came for the map in her hands. Fellow Daoist Wu Yan, even though you are an experienced Immortal Venerables, I am not afraid of you. If you are sensible, hand over the map in your hands to me. Otherwise, don't blame me for robbing you. Hong Zong was clearly just a newly advanced Immortal Venerables. However, he acted like an old man in front of Wu Yan, which made Wu Yan very unhappy. Shi Dang was even more domineering. He directly shouted at Wu Yan with a commanding tone. Hand over the map. Otherwise, don't blame us for being merciless. We will first kill you here and then slaughter all the subordinates behind you. Under Shi Dang's powerful Second Tribulation Immortal Venerables aura force, many of the experts on Wu Yan's side could not withstand it. Their faces turned pale and were filled with fear. Wu Yan also looked nervous. She did not expect that Hong Zong and Shi Dang would work together to snatch the map in her hands. Among these 2 people, one had already formed a team with Sha Bailu and seemed to be on the same side as him. The other one was rumored to have a life and death feud with Sha Bailu. It was already very strange that these 2 people did not fight each other. How could they possibly work together? However, the other party did not seem to have the intention to waste time with her, nor did they intend to explain. It looked like they were about to attack without saying a word. Under the tense atmosphere, Wu Yan's heart felt like it was hanging by a huge rock. Hong Zong was only a newly advanced Immortal Venerables. However, Shi Dang was a genuine Second Tribulation Immortal Venerables. If the 2 of them worked together, Wu Yan did not think that she, who was only a First Tribulation Immortal Venerables, would be a match for them. The possibility of successfully protecting the map from the 2 of them was too small. Moreover, the other party had actually gathered people from dozens of tribes and surrounded her here. A single thought-shattering cultivator was nothing. However, if there were a certain number of them, they could not be underestimated. Under the encirclement, it would be even more difficult to escape. If she was not careful, she might very well be killed here. Wu Yan's heart began to struggle. She was working for the 100-Flower Emperor. If she hands over the map, her score would return to 0. It was impossible for her to get into the top 3 and obtain the South Sea Spring Water with just the score she got in the previous test. If she could not get the South Sea Spring Water, she would certainly have to bear the wrath of the 100-Flower Emperor. However, if she does not hand over the map, she would have to face the siege of 2 Immortal Venerables of the past 10,000 thought-shattering cultivators, to hand it over or not. At this moment, Ning Fan's and Wu Yan's positions overlapped on each other's maps. However, Wu Yan, who was busy calculating the gains and losses in her mind, naturally did not notice all of this. She did not notice it, but it did not mean that no one else did. After all, she was not the only one who shared the map with Ning Fan. In the crowd behind her, the leader of the Illusory Sea tribe, the scar-faced burly man, noticed the changes on the map in his hand. At the moment when the positions on the map overlapped, a flickering shadow dashed towards them while sticking close to the ground. It brought along a strong gust of wind and filled the sky with dust. That figure kept getting closer to them. Only when he got close to them did he stop. His figure was revealed, revealing his travel-worn figure. It was none other than Ning Fan, who was rushing to this place. The scar-faced man's eyes widened. On Ning Fan's back, the woman who was leaning on him like a little bird was none other than his little wife. She was clinging tightly to Ning Fan's back without the slightest bit of embarrassment. What a slut! The scar-faced man felt that the grassland above his head was already vast enough for a horse to run on. However, this time, he did not feel the slightest bit of anger. On the contrary, he was very happy to see Ning Fan again. Because Ning Fan's arrival meant that there was hope. Compared to this, what did it matter if the grass grew on his head? Not only the scar-faced man, but Ning Fan's arrival also made the thousands of experts present hold their breaths. It also made the expressions of the three immortal venerables change. However, Shi Dang and Hong Zong were frowning. As for Wu Yan, she was pleasantly surprised. At this moment, the gazes of thousands of experts were focused on Ning Fan. At this moment, Wu Yan could not wait to open her mouth. For the first time, she used a pleading tone and said, "Big brother Ning, quickly come and lend me a hand." Her voice was clear and pleasant to the ears, but it could not move Ning Fan's heart. He only looked at everything in front of him indifferently, as if it had nothing to do with him. What are you all gathering here for? He did not forget Wu Yan's request. Between them, they would not help each other because of personal grudges. This was Wu Yan's idea. Of course, considering that Wu Yan's map was really stolen, he would also lose a lot of shared points. Since it was related to himself, he could not just sit and watch. Of course, it was impossible for him to act just because of a delicate cry for help. His fee was very expensive, very expensive. It was not that it could not be cheap, but it varied from person to person. At least, Wu Yan could not be cheap. Chapter 1043. Why are all of you gathered here? There were more than 1,000 cultivators gathered here. Their battle cries were deafening. However, because of Ning Fan's arrival, the atmosphere became so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Ning Fan carried Tu Huang on his back and walked forward as if there was no one else around. The cultivators at this place had already surrounded Wu Yan and the others. However, as Ning Fan approached them step by step and his aura force swept across the area, those who were blocking Ning Fan's way immediately felt an instinctive fear and kept retreating. In an instant, the huge crowd parted to form a path for people to pass through. Ning Fan walked to the center of the encirclement as if there was no one around him. He put Tu Huang down and looked at Wu Yan calmly, waiting for her answer. Wu Yan was quite eloquent. In just 20 breaths, she told Ning Fan everything that had happened here. Big brother Ning, my little sister is in trouble this time. You must help her. Soft witch words begged. After the initial surprise, Wu Yan could more or less tell that Ning Fan seemed to be planning to stand aside and watch. Instantly, she became anxious. Their enemies were two immortal venerables. Without Ning Fan's help, Wu Yan certainly did not have the confidence to keep the map in her hands. In order to move Ning Fan's firm heart, Wu Yan even used a trace of bewitching technique in her words. Unfortunately, this level of bewitching technique could not affect Ning Fan's mind at all. He could only reply expressionlessly. Why should I help you? Why should I help you? Why should I help you? When Wu Yan heard the rejection in Ning Fan's words, her face immediately turned cold. However, there was more regret behind it. When she just entered the Fire Soul Tower, she was unwilling to get involved in the conflict between Ning Fan and the Sha Bai Lu. She was unwilling to be implicated by Ning Fan. That was why she made a promise with Ning Fan that they would not help each other because of their personal grudges. Now that she was in trouble, she only thought of Ning Fan. Of course, Ning Fan would not give her a good attitude. She could understand that. If their identities were reversed and Ning Fan was the one in danger, Wu Yan would not help him no matter what. Of course, understanding was one thing. The current situation was extremely dangerous and Ning Fan was her only hope when she was drowning. No matter how cold Ning Fan's attitude was, it was impossible for her to give up the only hope of keeping the map. What do I need for you to help me? As long as you're willing to join hands with me to deal with this matter, I can pay any price. Wu Yan stopped smiling and putting on an act, and he similarly revealed an indifferent expression as he asked in a cold voice. Any price, is it? Ning Fan's gaze swept across Wu Yan's delicate body in a seemingly unintentional manner. Immediately, Wu Yan was shocked. She knew that the price Ning Fan wanted was her body. Unfortunately, she seemed to have overestimated her beauty. Wu Yan could be considered as an unrivaled beauty. Unfortunately, Ning Fan had countless beauties around him and there were countless of them. He was not interested in Wu Yan's beauty at all. What exactly do you want? Wu Yan purposely put on a straight face, but he was somewhat lacking in confidence. I haven't thought about what I want yet, but if I do one day, I will go to your sea wizard tribe to get it from you. After glancing at Wu Yan's empty storage pouch, Ning Fan suppressed the thought of asking for payment immediately. It was a must to get the payment. However, Ning Fan had picked up many storage pouches in the past, including the storage pouch of Bai Lu. None of them had any good items. It made sense when he thought about it. The cultivators who came to participate in the second round of the mausoleum would naturally consider the possibility of getting into danger or having their storage pouches robbed. Thus, they would usually not bring any valuable items with them. If he were to ask for payment now, Wu Yan would not be able to give him anything good. Thus, it would be better to wait until he had the time in the future before asking for payment. All right. If Brother Ning helps me get out of danger today, I will owe you a favor. In the future, when Brother Ning comes to my sea wizard tribe, it doesn't matter if you have taken a fancy to one of my treasures or if you want to ask for my help, I will not refuse Brother Ning's request. I can make a heart demon oath to never violate this promise. Wu Yan remained silent for a while. Finally, she made the oath with determination. She had always been a selfish person. However, if she really made an oath, she would certainly fulfill it. When Ning Fan saw that Wu Yan actually made the oath solemnly without showing any change in her expression, he was rather surprised. On the other side, Ning Fan followed the old monster's instruction and asked for a reward from Wu Yan without suffering any losses. On the other side, Shi Dang and Hong Zong were also talking about something. However, unlike Ning Fan who was straightforward, the two of them were secretly talking through telepathy. Fellow Taoist Shi, with the strength of both of us, we can actually take down Wu Yan. But now, there's an additional brat. What should we do? Let's wait and see. Don't act rashly. This external cultivator is not easy to deal with. It would be best if he doesn't interfere in this matter. If he does, then this matter will be a little tricky. Hee. Could it be that fellow Taoist Shi is really afraid of this external cultivator? Indeed, this person's result in the test of strength is quite extraordinary. However, in my opinion, the reason why this person's result is so high is only because he knows some kind of secret technique to recover the strength of his physical body. This trial of strength tests the endurance of one's strength. That's why this person was able to take the first place by trickery. If the test of strength is based on strength, then this person will never be able to take the first place. You should know that when this person was fighting against the corpse devil, the strength of each of his attacks was actually far inferior to ours. After all, he's just an immortal venerable whose cultivation base is suppressed by the Xing Huan. The strength that he can display is very limited. I didn't expect fellow Taoist Shi to be afraid of an immortal venerable whose cultivation base is restricted. Hee. This is really interesting. Humph. I'm not afraid of him. I just don't want to cause more trouble. You don't have to provoke me. According to our agreement, I will only help you snatch Wu Yan's map. I will not interfere in other matters. Fighting with this person is also not within the scope of our agreement. Is that so? Speaking of which, the mission that Lord gave me is not just to snatch Wu Yan's map. This person's map is also within the scope of snatching. This is a mission given to you by that Lord, not to me. The agreement between us is only to snatch Wu Yan's map. As for this Ning Fan, if you want to deal with him, you can do it yourself. I will definitely not help you. When mentioning that Lord, Shi Dang who had always been arrogant and unruly was filled with respect. Obviously, that lord was not an ordinary person. He was at least an immortal king or even an immortal emperor. What if I give you double the amount of ancient Buddha Dao fruits? This. Shi Dang's eyes brightened, but he still pretended to be considering it. I'll add another 10 million years old mysterious sea sealwort. I can't give you any more than that. Hong Zong said with a pained expression. Deal. Shi Dang laughed heartily. He had accepted someone's money to eliminate a disaster for them. If it wasn't for these rewards, why would he get entangled with someone like Hong Zong? His main purpose of participating in the mausoleum seizing battle was to take revenge on Sha Bai Lu for the humiliation he had suffered in the past. Of course, if he could also gain a huge amount of benefits during the battle, he certainly would not reject it. At that moment, he did not want to waste any more time. He immediately shouted at Ning Fan and Wu Yen. Wu Yen. Do you really think that you can escape from us just because you have a helper? Quickly hand over the map in your hands. Don't make a mistake. As for Ning Fan. Since you've come to get involved in this mess, don't blame me for snatching you and the map away. I'll give you 10 breaths to hand over the map. Otherwise, don't blame me for not showing mercy to you. As soon as he finished speaking, Shi Dang took a step out of the crowd and stood in front of thousands of experts with his hands clasped behind his back. The aura force of the second eternal tribulation turned into a violent gale and swept across the place. Those who saw it were shocked. Shi Dang gave Ning Fan 10 breaths to hand over the map. Of course, it was impossible for Ning Fan to hand it over. Not only did he not plan to hand over the map, but he had also made up his mind that if he snatched the map from Shi Dang and Hong Zong at this place, he would no longer have a match in this illusory test. Under the situation where Sha Bai Lu, Shi Dang, and Hong Zong were all gone, it would not be difficult for him to get the first place in the second round of the mausoleum seizing battle. Ning Fan also released his aura force. Once again, he used the power of the illusion Night Pearl and fully unleashed his cultivation base. In terms of aura force alone, he was actually on par with Shi Dang without showing any signs of weakness. Impossible. You've actually broken the seal of the punishment ring. This aura is not much weaker than mine. It's just a little bit more to enter the second tribulation. Shi Dang's expression suddenly changed. Not only him, even Hong Zong and the thousands of experts behind him had their expressions greatly changed. If Ning Fan's cultivation base was sealed, they only felt fear. But the current Ning Fan gave them the feeling of a wild beast that was released from its cage. His evil intent was monstrous and his murderous chi was soaring to the sky. He was like a peerless devil lord. Moreover, this method of breaking the seal of the punishment ring did not seem to be destroying it but a method to temporarily restore his cultivation base. If I still don't hand over the map after 10 breaths, how are you going to show me no mercy? Ning Fan said expressionlessly. Humph. If you don't hand over the map, what awaits you is my iron fist. I will first destroy your physical body and then eat your primordial spirit. Hee hee. You should know that this illusory trial does not restrict cultivators from killing each other. Shi Dang snorted coldly. His murderous intent burst out and covered the sky and earth. However, this murderous intent only made Ning Fan sneer. Just what I wanted. With a sway of his body, Ning Fan instantly turned into a ray of red light and disappeared. Almost at the same time, his figure appeared in front of Shi Dang. The sharp claws of the Hui dragon claw directly clenched towards Shi Dang's head. Shi Dang was shocked. He did not expect that Ning Fan would make the first move. In a hurry, he barely managed to block Ning Fan's claw attack. However, his face was still scratched by Ning Fan. He was instantly enraged. So what if you're the first in the trial? So what if you've recovered your cultivation base? So what if you're valued by Sha Bai Lu? After all, he's just an external cultivator. A mere external cultivator actually dared to hurt me, an elder of the Stone Men tribe, courting death. Shi Dang took a step forward and a dark green giant axe appeared in his hand. With a loud roar, he dashed towards Ning Fan. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. He flipped his hand and took out the ocean-defying sword. Facing Shi Dang's axe light, he slashed it down. With just a single slash, Shi Dang's giant axe directly collapsed. He let out a muffled groan and retreated 100 steps on the ground. Only then did he manage to stabilize his body. His expression was filled with shock for the first time. The shockwave from the collision of the axe and sword swept across all directions, as if it was going to destroy everything. It shocked the cultivators in the area so much that they no longer cared about the encirclement. All of them hurriedly retreated backwards, fearing that they would be drawn into the shockwave and lose their lives. Ning Fan's single slash had shocked everyone present. The one who was the most shocked was Shi Dang. It was unimaginably heavy. It was unknown what material Ning Fan's sword was made of. Without using any abilities or magic techniques, it actually suppressed Shi Dang with its unparalleled weight. Shi Dang was most proud of his physical strength. Moreover, because he had a 12th Nirvana-grade giant axe, his combat power was extremely high among cultivators at the same level as him. However, even with such physical strength and a 12th Nirvana-grade giant axe, he still could not withstand a single slash from Ning Fan's sword. What kind of sword is this? Is it a Dao soldier? But can something like a Dao soldier reach such a level of power? Time did not allow Shi Dang to think about it. He only saw a flash of red light in front of his eyes. The heavy wind pressure from the second slash had already reached 3 chi below his head. Roar. At the critical moment, Shi Dang let out a furious roar. A mark in the shape of an axe appeared on his forehead and a ray of dark red axe light shot out from it. With a loud bang, it actually blocked Ning Fan's sea-defying Dao sword in midair. Turning your blood into an axe, huh? This slash is much more powerful than your 12th Nirvana-grade magic treasure. However, it's useless. Ning Fan pressed his Dao sword downwards. The dark red axe light was immediately split from the middle. Realizing that the situation was not good, Shi Dang withdrew his body and retreated again. While retreating, he felt shocked. His 12th Nirvana-grade magic treasure was destroyed in a single blow. His trump card of turning his blood into an axe was easily broken by Ning Fan. Ning Fan is just an external cultivator. How could he possibly be this strong? However, his retreating footsteps suddenly seemed to have been frozen in place. He could no longer move. Shi Dang suddenly had a feeling that his soul was about to leave his body. At this critical moment of life and death, his body was actually frozen in place for some unknown reason. He could not move at all. Of course, Ning Fan had used the heaven sealing technique on Shi Dang. The heaven sealing technique was the strongest ultimate technique of the Eastern Sky Ancestral Emperor. The profound meaning of this technique was the prestige secret art and the force secret art. The prestige secret art was used to intimidate and control people with force. The force secret art was used to control the general situation and control people with force. Currently, Ning Fan's comprehension of the prestige secret art and the force secret art had already reached a certain level. When he uses the heaven sealing technique, its power was also far from what it used to be. At this moment, he fully unleashed his cultivation base, which was similar to Shi Dang's cultivation base. With just a single finger, he managed to freeze Shi Dang on the spot, making him unable to move. After all, his cultivation base was not as strong as Shi Dang's. He could only stop him for about 1/10 of a breath. However, this amount of time was enough to do a lot of things in a battle between immortal venerables. For example, the moment Ning Fan stopped Shi Dang with his left hand, the sea-defying sword in his right hand had already slashed at his waist. The third slash. This slash forcefully cut Shi Dang's physical body, which was as hard as a magic treasure, into 2 pieces. Only his primordial spirit managed to escape from danger. However, there was no joy on his primordial spirit's face at all. Instead, there was only fear. 3 slashes. Ning Fan only used 3 slashes to destroy his physical body. One should know that even Sha Bai Lu could forget about defeating him within 3 moves in the past. However, Ning Fan did it with ease. This kind of strength was seriously inconsistent with his current cultivation base. It was way beyond his current level. You actually dared to destroy my physical body. You are an external cultivator. You are. Shi Dang's primordial spirit could not even speak properly. No matter how many storms and waves he had experienced, how could he remain calm in the face of such a terrifying and infuriating scene? So what if I destroy your physical body? So what if I kill you? Is there any rule in this illusory trials that forbids killing? The corner of Ning Fan's mouth curved into a cold arc. He used the same words that Shi Dang used to say to him. If he was not as strong as Shi Dang, he would either be robbed of the map or be stubbornly resisting until his death. Shi Dang would destroy his physical body and eat his primordial spirit. He. It was impossible for Shi Dang to show any mercy to him. Of course, he would not do that. This man is a madman. He is an external cultivator. He is just an external cultivator. How dare he kill me? Even if this doesn't violate the rules of the illusory trials, isn't he afraid of offending my stoneman tribe because of this? Madman! Madman! There is a fifth tribulation immortal king in my stone golem tribe. What benefits does killing me bring to you? At this moment, Shi Dang only had fear left in him. Moreover, he felt that Ning Fan was already being merciful by not killing him and only humiliating him after he was defeated by Sha Bai Lu in the past. Of course, it was impossible for him to wait for Ning Fan to arrive in front of him. Shi Dang shouted, "Fellow Daoist Hong Zong, save me," while desperately using his primordial spirit escape technique in an attempt to escape from this place. Unfortunately, fellow Daoist Hong Zong was already scared out of his wits by Shi Dang's rapid defeat. Together with the 1,000 people that he brought with him, they had already escaped without a trace. Why would I still want to snatch the map? Why would I still care about the mission given by that lord? Staying alive is more important. In that case, the only thing Shi Dang could rely on was the speed of his primordial spirit, which was greatly restricted. Theoretically, if a cultivator's primordial spirit leaves his physical body, his speed would be much faster than when he still has his physical body. However, this place was the Fire Spirit Tower. It was the Fire Spirit Tower that had a heaven-defying restrictive power. In this place, the primordial spirit of an immortal venerable realm cultivator could barely fly. However, under the suppression of the restrictive power, its speed was definitely not fast. Otherwise, with the speed of an immortal venerable realm cultivator's primordial spirit leaving their physical body, it would not take them much time to fly around the entire middle state. In the blink of an eye, they would be able to cover all 6 floors of the Fire Spirit Tower. Then, there would be no need for this illusory test anymore. Shi Dang could neither fly fast nor escape fast. What made him even more desperate was that Ning Fan just lifted his finger and fixed him in midair. Then, with a suction force, his primordial spirit was captured alive. With another squeeze, Ning Fan directly crushed his primordial spirit. After that, he opened his mouth and swallowed the blood mist that was left behind. Eating a primordial spirit raw. Countless cultivators who were running far away heard Shi Dang's blood-curdling scream before he died. All of them felt chills running down their spines. Who was Shi Dang? A dignified second tribulation immortal venerable actually had no power to resist Ning Fan at all. If they were to fall into Ning Fan's hands with their cultivation bases, there was no way they would be able to survive. What made them even more terrified was Ning Fan's action of eating a primordial spirit raw. Eating a primordial spirit raw was the behavior of a devil lord. The reason why Shi Dang uttered such ruthless words was mainly to intimidate Ning Fan. If he really captures Ning Fan's primordial spirit, he might not really eat it. Most likely, he would just kill Ning Fan. As for Ning Fan, he really ate it. Hong Zong felt his scalp go numb. Even though he was running for his life, he was still afraid that his speed was not fast enough. Thus, he did not hesitate to spurt out a few mouthfuls of blood essence. His entire body was shrouded in a blood-red light and he used a self-damaging secret technique to increase his speed. It was laughable that he had mocked Shi Dang for being a coward and being afraid of a mere external cultivator. Now, he only regretted not listening to Shi Dang's advice to wait and see. If he had known that Ning Fan was so strong, he would certainly not have tempted Shi Dang and made him his enemy. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Since he had already offended Ning Fan, the only thing he could do was to run away immediately. As long as he could escape from this place and the Fire Soul Tower, he could forget about the results of the illusory test. His life was the only thing he must do. After he managed to keep his life, he would have plenty of chances to seek revenge. A hint of ruthlessness flashed across Hong Zhang's eyes unnoticeably. However, at the next moment, that ruthlessness turned into fear. All of a sudden, his body could no longer move. He was frozen in place. It was not just on the surface. His cultivation base was not as strong as Shi Dang's. His situation was completely different from Shi Dang's. When Shi Dang's physical body was frozen, he could still run away with his primordial spirit. As for Hong Zhang, even his primordial spirit was frozen in place, unable to escape from his physical body. Even the magic power in his body felt like it was frozen, unable to circulate even a little bit of it. At the next moment, he felt a sharp pain coming from the top of his head. Hong Zhang let out a blood-curdling scream. Ning Fan, who had caught up to him from behind, slashed him vertically into two halves, killing him instantly. Another immortal venerable was killed. Thousands of cultivators who were running away suddenly stopped. It was because Ning Fan had even killed Hong Zhang, who was running at the front. He had already caught up to them and blocked their path. Some of them chose to turn around and run again, while others chose to fight to the death. However, the result was the same. Freeze. 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 As long as this ordinary-looking word was heard, a cultivator would be frozen on the spot like a statue. What awaited them was Ning Fan's deadly sword. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, there were only corpses left on the hillside. Ning Fan was already walking on a bloody path. After coming to the Great Humble Clan, Ning Fan had always been tolerant in all aspects. However, in this illusory trial, he no longer needed to be tolerant. If someone dares to bully him and wants to take his life, he only needs to pay them back with blood. That's all. With Ning Fan's strength, it was fine for him to instantly kill Hong Zhang. After all, Hong Zhang was just a newly advanced immortal venerable. With the terrifying power of the ocean-defying sword, it was not difficult for him to kill him. However, Shi Dang was a little tricky. If it wasn't for Ning Fan possessing a heaven-defying ability like the heaven sealing technique, it would not be so easy for him to kill Shi Dang. Since this technique could become the strongest ability of the Eastern Sky Ancestral Emperor, it certainly did not have an undeserved reputation. Sealing one person and killing one person. Sealing two people and killing two people. This technique was different from the realm bottle technique. It was not the kind that could kill an entire realm. Instead, it was a one-on-one killing technique. However, its effect was just as terrifying. Sealing one's physical body, primordial spirit, circulation of magic power and spreading of spirit sense, as long as the opponent's cultivation base was not too much higher than Ning Fan's, this technique could become a heaven-defying technique that could instantly kill the opponent. Once it seals the opponent, the only thing that awaits the opponent was basically death. Of course, this was probably the only weakness of the heaven sealing technique. If Shi Dang's cultivation base is a little higher and attains the third tribulation of the Eternal Era, it would be difficult for Ning Fan to seal him in place, and it would be impossible for him to kill him instantly. Ning Fan calmly collected the storage pouches on the corpses in the sea of blood and mountains of corpses. Occasionally, he could also pick up the Dao fruits that the corpses dropped. Tu Huang, on the other hand, was watching Ning Fan from afar. His beautiful eyes were filled with emotion. She had really underestimated Ning Fan. Currently, as long as Ning Fan does not encounter those peak second tribulation immortal venerables, he could probably kill most of them instantly with just this heaven sealing technique. Those first tribulation immortal venerables and newly advanced immortal venerables would have a slim chance of survival. Moreover, Ning Fan's current strength was just a tiny bit away from attaining the second tribulation of the Eternal Era. What if Ning Fan's strength truly attains the second tribulation of the Eternal Era? What if he attains the immortal king realm or the immortal emperor realm one day? Would he also be able to instantly kill immortal kings and immortal emperors at the same level as him? This technique should be the technique of the Eastern Heaven ancestral emperor of the illusory world, right? If it really is this technique, no matter how strong this young man is, he still can't escape from the great danger of this technique. Should I give him some advice? Tu Huang pondered inwardly. At the side, be it Wu Yan, the scarred man and the others, all of them wore terrified expressions. Even an experienced first tribulation immortal venerable like Wu Yan could not remain calm. The strength that Ning Fan had displayed made even her, his teammate, feel terrified. All of a sudden, she felt a little fortunate that she chose Ning Fan as her teammate. Otherwise, Ning Fan would become one of her greatest enemies in this illusory trial. Perhaps, she would also offend Ning Fan because she did not know his background and become a pile of bones under his feet, or perhaps, if it wasn't because she was lucky enough to become Ning Fan's teammate, the map would probably have been snatched away by Shi Dang and the others. Compared to these small fortunes, owing Ning Fan a life-saving favor was not considered a bad thing. However, when Ning Fan returned with a full load of spoils of war, she no longer dared to talk to him pretentiously like she did in the beginning. She was afraid of Ning Fan. Moreover, when Ning Fan casually asked her a question, she panicked. She who had always been eloquent actually stuttered a little when she spoke. How much do you know about the ancient Buddha Dao fruit? Ning Fan asked Wu Yan with a strange look. I have never eaten it before. I'm not asking you whether you have eaten it before or not. I'm asking you. Forget it. I won't ask you anymore. Ning Fan glanced at Wu Yan with slight disdain. Then, he turned his head and asked Tu Huang the same question. Tu Huang did not answer him directly. Instead, his beautiful eyes lit up. He licked his lips and said, "There's something good to eat again, isn't it? You want to eat it too?" Ning Fan was speechless. Those were his spoils of war. However, seeing that Tu Huang had helped him improve the grade of his medicine soul along the way, it was not that he could not share some with her. Which unlucky fellow did you get it from? Tu Huang asked with a smile. With the tacit understanding between the two of them during these days, they already knew the answers to many of their questions even if they did not answer him directly. On the other hand, Wu Yan and the others who were standing at the side were like background characters. They did not even dare to breathe loudly. All they could do was quietly listen to the conversation between Ning Fan and Tu Huang. Ning Fan felt a headache. If he knew that he would get such a good item, he would certainly not have destroyed Shi Dang and Hong Zhang's primordial spirits directly. Instead, he would have searched their souls. The treatment he received was different from Bai Lu's primordial spirits. The primordial spirits of these two people could not pique Ning Fan's interest at all. Thus, both of them were directly killed. This also led to a problem. Ning Fan had obtained a good item called the ancient Buddha Dao fruit from Hong Zhang's storage pouch. However, he did not know how to consume it. This was a good item that could only be eaten during the ancient Buddha assembly of the middle state. Ning Fan missed the appointment with the ancient Buddha assembly because of the blood martial arena. However, he did not expect to obtain some ancient Buddha Dao fruits here. It was like fate. If he was fated to obtain these ancient Buddha Dao fruits, he would eventually meet them again. However, the ancient Buddha Dao fruits were different from ordinary Dao fruits. If the method of consumption is wrong, half of its medicinal power would be lost. However, when Ning Fan thought about it again, he felt that his worries were unfounded. With the omnipotent Tu Huang around, it seemed like he did not need to worry about these things. How about 40 to 60? Tu Huang narrowed his eyes and said with a smile. You are 60. You are 60. I don't dare to take more of your spoils of war.